Brass Tacks with me, Poonam Burde. It's been 3 days since violent protests brought down the KP-OLI government in Nepal. There seems to now be some consensus building on who will lead the country out of this uncertainty and out of this developments that we've seen that led to violence. Hectic parleys were underway between the army, the president, these Gen Z leaders and several possible contenders for 3 days now. A solution has now been found. They have decided who the head of the interim government is going to be. But what it took for Nepal to reach this particular stage is distressing. The human cost of this protest has been extremely high. At last count, at least 51 lives have been lost so far. There are several more that are still getting treated in hospitals across Kathmandu because we saw the kind of arson that came to the fore. We saw the kind of tear gas shelling, the water cannons that the protesters faced on the protest on September 9th. All of which eventually resulted in the fall of the government. But was it really necessary for these lives to have been lost? There were thousands that have been injured. What happens to those that are still recuperating? And the streets of the capital of Kathmandu wear a barren look even now. There's a curfew that's in place, there's regular patrolling, all with a rare glimpse of normalcy. Will that normalcy return? Bringing that normalcy back is going to be the first big challenge for this interim leader, this interim Prime Minister of the Himalayan country. In fact, we have some news that's now coming in, and what we're learning is that an agreement, in fact, has been reached. Former Chief Justice of Nepal, Sushila Karki, is going to be the head of the interim government. In fact, in a few minutes from now, about half an hour, 40 minutes from now, is when we are going to be seeing her oath-taking ceremony take place as well. She is going to be sworn in as the interim Prime Minister of the country. The House of Representatives is also going to be dissolved, which means the dissolution of Parliament, which these Gen Z protesters have been asking for. That is a demand that has finally been agreed to by the President and by the Nepal Army. A full day of intense discussions took place all day today. There were several delays as far as those meetings went, but eventually and finally a consensus has been built is what we're given to understand. Siddhant, my colleague, now in fact joins us live from Kathmandu. He's been getting us the voices from on ground. Siddhant, in about 45 minutes from now is when we're given to understand that oath-taking ceremony will happen, where Nepal will finally have an interim Prime Minister after 3 days of uncertainty.
Well, that's right, Poonam. In fact, after 2 days of hectic parley, at the army headquarters and at the Rashtrapati Bhavan, finally, Sushila Karki has been confirmed as the next interim Prime Minister of Nepal. In fact, Poonam, there were a lot of issues, perhaps, Gen Z's. First, there was Sushila Karki's name, which was proposed, after which Kulman Gising's name also did come up for discussion. Then, since morning, Poonam, there was one meeting which was at 9 a.m. in the morning. That meeting got postponed to 2 p.m. And then finally, late in the evening, we got to know that there is a deadlock because Gen Zs wanted the parliament and the provincial assemblies to be dissolved before the oath-taking of Sushila Karki. But President of Nepal and army was not agreeing for that. And in fact, they had to say that the next Prime Minister should become under the constitutional framework. So that is what the President had to say. And the army was also convinced with President's opinion. But now we can say this, Poonam, that ultimately President of Nepal and army has to accept the demands of the Gen Z protesters, and perhaps now the oath-taking of Sushila Karki is going to take place in next 45 minutes at the newly formed building. And in fact, we've been told that right after that, the parliament and the provincial assemblies in Nepal will be dissolved. So definitely Gen Zs have won. They have not only overthrown the OLI government, but they are deciding the Prime Minister of Nepal, interim Prime Minister of Nepal, and they are also they have managed to pressurize President and army to dissolve the parliament and a provincial assembly. So it's a big win for the youngsters, for the youth, those who were on the streets protesting, and perhaps now the president has to accept what they wanted.
What it seems like, but Siddhant, we're also given to understand that along with Sushila Karki, at least two others will also be sworn in. There is going to be an interim cabinet that will also be put in place. That's what we are gathering.
Well, that's right, Poonam. In fact, Kulman Gising's name is doing the rounds. One is Om Prakash Aryal, and the third one is Balanandan Sharma. These are the names which are doing the rounds. We are still awaiting for the official confirmation. So in total, there is going to be four people taking oath tonight. It's going to be a very small cabinet, and in fact, right after the oath taking, there's going to be the cabinet meeting also. This is also what we have been told. Definitely there's a lot of hope, Poonam, as far as youngsters in Nepal. They are really happy with this transition, and in fact, they have been looking for it from a long time. Finally, they had to come on the streets to overthrow the government and to get the new interim government and to rebuild the nation. But it's definitely going to be a very, very challenging task for Sushila Karki and her government, Poonam, given the economy of Nepal is already in doldrums. There have been major buildings across the city vandalized and ransacked and were set ablaze. So to rebuild those buildings, to renovate them and to put them back in place, perhaps require a lot of fund. So,
Right.
so it's definitely going to be a challenge, and also the aspirations of youth, Poonam. This protest had to do with corruption, nepotism, unemployment, cost of living, etc., etc. So, what is going to be the roadmap of this interim government? How they are going to meet the aspiration of the youth? Perhaps, as I said, that it's going to be a very, very challenging journey. And then again
Absolutely,
to
and we'll
announce the
decode
election.
we'll decode what those challenges are as our guests join us here on Brass Tacks as well. But for the moment, Siddhant, thank you so much for getting us the latest. We'll of course keep coming back to you as we inch closer to that swearing-in ceremony. But to give you a context of who exactly is Sushila Karki. Remember, she made history after she became Nepal's first female Chief Justice, serving in that role from July 2016 to June 2017, shy of just a year. She began her legal career in 1979. She completed her law education in Biratnagar. She is known for her zero-tolerance stance on corruption, and that's something that earned her the respect and gave her an image of her being a politician, now a politician, of being a judge who had extreme integrity. She delivered landmark rulings, notably enabling women to pass citizenship to their children. That was a right that was previously restricted only to men, but that's something that she stood for, which is also why she was one of those contenders that the Gen Zs were putting all their weight behind. And it seems like most of the demands that these student leaders, these Gen Z leaders were making, all of them have now been paid heed to. So what exactly does this mean for Nepal, for the subcontinent, for India as well? Let's try and decode that. Let's open this up. Rakesh Sood, former Indian ambassador to Nepal, joins us on this broadcast. Namita Sharma, senior journalist, joins us live from Kathmandu. And Sudeep Bhatta, a youth activist, also joining us live from Kathmandu. Sudeep Bhatta, let me ask you first. It looks like all of the demands that these Gen Zs were making, all of them, there was some amount of difference of opinion over that, especially as far as dissolution of the parliament went. That's not something that the president really wanted. But now we're learning that all of the demands have been accepted.
Yes, yes. This is the victory for the Gen Zs so far. We have been protesting against corruption, and what we want is a fresh mandate from an election that will be held fair and square from the new interim leader we have chosen. So I think this is a victory for everyone in the country, because we're looking for a bright future and stability in the country after a long decade of corruption and bad governance in the country.
Well, that's really the hope, Namrata Sharma, that we do eventually reach that stage where not only are these demands accepted, but also we see some change on ground as far as Nepal goes. But that's going to be easier said than done, isn't it? That road to A, normalcy in Nepal after what we saw this week, and B, to bring about these changes that these Gen Zs are asking for, that's going to be difficult as well.
That is definitely going to be difficult. But if you do a flashback and think of how things have moved from 8th of September till now, one step has led to another. The Gen Zs have come down. They did a peaceful protest as they had promised they would. Unfortunately, some other sources almost tried to hijack that protest and give a bad name. And there was vandalism in the street, which went uncontrolled for some time. Army had to come over. There's now speculations that until even till now we haven't seen our president. Genjis are raising issues that we need to see the president because he's the head of the state. And Genjis have also said that we are going to keep our constitution intact till the election is formed. So they have shown a series of very, very, mature decisions and movements. But in the whole process, vandalism started, arsenal happened, there was suspect of others taking advantage of the Gen Z protest. But they have stuck to their demand of end to corruption and putting in place a face which is attached with an anti-corruption. Gen Z actually has done a brilliant decision in choosing Sushila Karki. She's hats off to their movement and hats off to their unorganized leadership. I call that, because Gen Z hasn't given a face of this is my leader or that is my leader. They have been voicing their discontent.
But they had made it very clear that they didn't want certain people. There were several other names that were doing the rounds as well, but they were very clear that these are the people that we do not want in positions of power.
To them, like they haven't among themselves, they haven't said that this one is the Gen Z leader or that. Everybody has had an open mouth. And now coming to your question, that's why I'm going through this thing. What I hope and I believe, although it's going to be difficult, that from tomorrow onwards there will be normalcy. I went to rescue a couple of people who were alone, senior citizens today, and it was easy for me to go and come. Now that the interim government will be put in place, there will be a lot of challenge this government will have to face, because this government is going to be headed by Sushila Karki. The strength is she will be knowing the judicial system of the country very well to pave a path on what next. But she will also have some inexperienced youth who are going to be with her, but a youth who have already shown their capacity of making the right decision at the right time. So with challenges in place, I'm fully confident that they will move ahead, but they're going to be a few more days will take time for the whole street to come back to normalcy, because lots of people
absolutely,
have been
and we've seen the kind of damage that's been done to public-private property, to the loss of lives that we've seen as well. But Rakesh, soon let me ask you this: consensus has been built on who this interim leader is going to be. Justice Sushila Karki is now going to be the face of this interim government in Nepal. When we saw with Bangladesh, there was an interim leader of the caretaker government, and that interim has been for over a year now. Do you see a similar pattern that could be playing out in Nepal, or could we see elections happen very soon there?
Well, I have no idea, because what is happening is not in keeping with the constitution. The constitution of Nepal does not provide for an interim government. And to that extent, it is uncharted territory. Now, whether we don't know what is going to be the shape of the interim government. In fact, the constitution of Nepal says that if a government cannot be formed, then you will announce elections within 6 months, and that these elections will take place within 6 months. And meanwhile, there would be a caretaker government, which is exactly what Mr. K.P. Sharma Oli was asked to do when he handed in his resignation to the president. However, since the mood on the street was unwelcome, is not willing to accept Oli, or for that matter, any of the other old leaders. So therefore, that is not a possibility. So we are moving into uncharted territory. Whether this leads to stability or does not lead to stability is an open question, according to me.
And it's not just about stability in Nepal, Mr. Sood, isn't it? It's also about stability for India. I mean, there are repercussions both in terms of security and geopolitical for India based on what happens in Nepal.
Sure. So we've already sealed our border, and the border could continue to be sealed for a long time. The only thing that we need to ensure is that it doesn't lead to any shortages of essential commodities like petrol products, like cooking gas, things like that, because a lot of these go by road into Nepal. And that is something that we will need to be very careful about, because that could very easily turn the mood of the people to an anti-India mood, which is not something that we would want, because we don't have, we are not involved in this. We are not playing favorites. Our stakes are basically that we would like stability in Nepal because it is a neighboring country and that shares an open border with us. So, from that point of view, I think we will have to take precautions about sealing the border while ensuring that sealing the border does not mean that it leads to shortages. So we'll have to have that careful balance.
And that's something that New Delhi is, of course, looking at, because the threat also is that China would be wanting to fish in what they would see as troubled waters. But Namrata Sharma, let me ask you this. As far as the way the government fell and now an interim leader has been chosen, many would suggest that the fact that the president and the army has given in to the demands of these Gen Zs sets a wrong precedent because of the way we got here. I mean, this is not something that you would expect every few months if something doesn't go your way. 51 lives have been lost at last count.
Absolutely. Before I go on to your main question, what I want to say is the concern that the people are feeling at the moment is they haven't seen the face of President Ramchandra Paudel. He is known to be a people's person, and I'm sure he would be wanting to give a live address of to the people. So at the moment, the general feeling in the country is that the army is taking lead. Of course, it must be under the instructions of the president, and we all hope that, because although president is the ceremonial position at the moment, he is also the chief of army. You see, and at the moment, the president and the army are the only institutions that are effective in this country. So the army chief is doing what the president has instructed, most probably. But there is a concern among the general population, particularly Gen Zs and everybody, that Ramchandra Paudel has not been seen by the people. And coming back, this is also unprecedented. The whole country is in a very unprecedented situation at the moment. That is the reason why, a people's elected parliament is going to be dissolved now, and then interim government is going to be in place. Then after that, that interim government's mandate is to actually conduct an election within 6 months.
Right.
As you said, this has been given an example not only to Nepal, but globally. And just like the youth of today, these are the fingertip youths, they have learned from Malaysia, they've learned from Bangladesh, they've learned from Pakistan, and we also used to learn from different countries and the historical developments and political movements. But the way they learn is different, In Nepal, there used to be a cross-border crossing over to India when the Nepali politicians needed to be safe, and getting support from different political parties there. Now the Gen Z youth actually tap their fingers and start connecting with their youth leaders all over the world. Their learning is different and faster, you see. So I don't think, I hope that the future generation will take the good things of this movement as an example. Like, for example, talking against and toppling over a corrupt system. How can it be done? That is a good example. But the vandalism that happened in the street is very bad, because it destroyed historical buildings, it destroyed business houses, and it destroyed a lot of dreams that general simple people of Nepal had building their structures, and huge economic damage. There's an expectation of 50 million Nepali rupees of claim. The insurers and bankers are saying that. So these are wrong things. Why did that happen? How? So every movement.
Speaking of the money that's involved, I want to bring in Rakesh Sood as well. That's another aspect where India has a big stake, isn't it, Rakesh Sood? Because India accounts for about 35% of Nepal's foreign investment. There are a lot of projects that are still underway there. And if this political uncertainty or if this kind of violence there continues, that's something that's also going to be at stake.
Absolutely. I mean, Nepal has had a low rate of growth. By and large, over the last 20 years, the average rate of growth in Nepal has varied between about 2.5% to 5%, except for the COVID years, which was an exception. But other than that, there has been a positive rate of growth, but not enough to create the necessary jobs, and which is why you have this curious phenomena of the young people seeking jobs outside, including in India, the Middle East, Southeast Asia, as far as South Korea, Philippines, and so on. So this is something that will take far more. I mean, the Nepalese GDP per capita GDP today is about half of that of India's. And this is something which is unfortunate.
It is, and which is why I want to ask Sudeep Bhatta as well. You know, this is the kind of things that are at stake, not just for Nepal, but for the subcontinent as well. There are security repercussions, and what is to say that 6 months down the line, 3 months down the line, a similar situation will not occur once again? Because now many would say that these Gen Zs and the student leaders there seem to be emboldened that if we push our way through so much, then maybe all of our demands will get accepted.
As a youth in Nepal, we believe that democracy is the best revenge, and then what we are trying to do is a fair and square election and a fresh mandate where people now will decide the future of the country. This interim government is has the main role, main objective to conduct an election that is fair, and after that there will be a government of the people, of the young people. I hope so. It will be a young people government which will work for the better future of this country. And as a youth, I know these challenges are there. There's going to be a lot of challenges, but as a youth, it's a beautiful thing that we are not that old enough to be that pessimistic. In that time, we are celebrating this victory, and we know this thing will change. It's not going to happen every 3 months or 6 months. It takes decades to pile up such type of emotion inside people for the anti-corruption that has been there, for the corruption that has been in the system, for the see it has been so wild that everyone in this country has been feeling bad about the corruption, bad about the nepotism that's happening here, and the lack of opportunities the youths are getting. The country should have been something different, but due to the lack of good leadership and credible leadership, I would say that the country is facing these problems, and I hope this is the new beginning, and we'll come out strong after this.
And that's really the hope. But Rakesh Sudha, let you have the last word. I just want your perspective on how it would fare for India in terms of China. I mean, that's a threat. We're trying to keep China close, but it still remains a threat. And as far as Bangladesh and Nepal are concerned, should India be wary more than ever?
Well, let me make 2 points here. First, I think everybody would like free and fair elections, but the fact is that Gen Z is not a political party, and they do not have a political party. So what happens? Are we to have free and fair elections? Are we saying that the established political parties like the Nepali Congress or the UML or the Maoist parties or the Madhesi parties will not be able to take part in the election? If that is so, then would that really be free and fair? By the way, in 2022, we saw 3 new political parties emerge in the elections. One of them was the Rashtriya Swatantra Party, RSP, and they had a very charismatic TV personality as a leader, Ravi Lamichhane, who did spectacularly well, and then was appointed Home Minister and then Deputy Prime Minister, and then ended up in jail because of corruption scandals. So, I mean, free and fair is all very well. Everybody would like it to be free and fair, but then who conducts them? is the election commission, or are we going to change the election commission? So there are a lot of questions that are there before we can actually have this golden dawn of free and fair elections. Now, to answer your second question about China, I think I'm reminded in 2014 when Prime Minister Modi came to power and took oath as Prime Minister of India, he talked of neighborhood first policy. And his first visit, if I remember right, in 2014 was to Nepal, and the second visit was to Bhutan, and the second one was to Nepal. From there, if I look at our neighborhood, I see the neighborhood in turmoil. In 2021, you saw the military takeover in Myanmar, where the popularly elected government of Aung San Suu Kyi was thrown out. You also saw the Taliban takeover in Afghanistan. In 2022, we saw troubles taking place in Sri Lanka. 2023, we saw other difficulties happening in Pakistan. We had a near crisis when Imran Khan was put in jail, and then the military had to crack down. In 2024, we saw Bangladesh go up into a period of uncertainty, which is still continuing, and now we see Nepal. So I think that clearly this neighborhood first policy, which or whatever it was, is certainly not working, and I think we need to take another look at our regional foreign policy.
Well, I'll have to leave it at that, but I thank you, Rakesh Sood, Namrata Sharma and Sudeep Bhatta for joining us here on Brass Tacks with your perspective. My colleague Siddhant Mishra has been in Nepal, getting us a sense of what it looks like in Kathmandu, especially 3 days after the violence. The buildings bear a completely ashen look. Most of the iconic buildings like the Supreme Court or the Parliament in Kathmandu went completely ablaze. They went up in flames during that protest on the 9th of September. Here's what it all remains now in Kathmandu.
This used to be the open area of the Parliament building, and now look at the condition, fully gutted. And in fact, these used to be the corridors of the Parliament of Nepal. Now, army has been deployed both inside and outside the Parliament. Complete destruction, and in fact, the entire building was set ablaze. This building was first vandalized, then it was set ablaze, and you can see broken glasses, broken window pane. Right here, where I'm reporting from, this you see the open space of the Parliament building. As I said before, in fact, you could see a lot of tourists, locals have started visiting this building. Perhaps they also are here to understand the sense and to get a sense about the destruction and damage which was caused by the rioters the other day in Nepal. We are inside the Parliament building right now, and you can see the level of heat. This building was set ablaze by the rioters. In fact, the first floor, the roof of this entire building has fallen down. This entire building got gutted as protesters set this building ablaze the other day. There's complete destruction. The full building has been gutted. Not a single block or a corner of this building is left. Now, whoever comes in power in Nepal, perhaps the biggest challenge would be for him or her to rebuild these buildings, Parliament building, Supreme Court building. So we are bringing these visuals for our viewers, this report from inside the Parliament of Nepal, where you can see massive destruction took place the other day when protesters set this building ablaze. In fact, every corner of this building got gutted because of the massive fire, and we have managed to enter the domain and look at the situation inside the building. Complete destruction. everything started, and it would definitely be a challenge for the new government to rebuild these buildings, the structures.
Well, this is the traffic headquarters of Nepal, the head office of the traffic department of Nepal, and you can see many vehicles were set ablaze the other day, and in fact right now the review and inspection work is being going on inside. So we are shooting from outside, and just want to give viewers a sense the amount of destruction which happened the other day. There were many vehicles which were parked inside the premises, and all the vehicles were set ablaze. In fact, the building was also ransacked and then was later set on fire. Behind me is the Hilton Hotel, which was set ablaze by the rioters the other day, and in fact you can see the smoke from this building is still coming out. We can still see the smoke around this building. This building has fully got gutted, and right now we are reporting outside the Hilton Hotel in Kathmandu.
Shifting focus now to a political controversy that's brewing here back home. An AI-generated video of Prime Minister Modi being scolded by his late mother has become the latest flashpoint between the BJP and the Congress RJD combined, and it comes just a couple of days after another controversial episode from the joint rally held by RJD and Congress in Bihar. All of this, of course, is on the sidelines, and given that we're just a few weeks away from elections in Bihar. The BJP says that the opposition, specifically the Congress, is crossing every line of decency. The Grand Old Party, meanwhile, continues to remain defiant. They claim the video is form of political expression, satire, and that the BJP is playing the victim card, which is not going to work. But historically, personal attacks on the Prime Minister have not worked for his opponents. Every time they make it personal about him, it backfires electorally as well. And that's what the BJP is banking on this time around when Bihar elections take place.
देखिए, बिहार कांग्रेस बिहार के संस्कृति संस्कार से दूर जा चुका है। ये अराजकता का प्रतीक है।
प्रधानमंत्री जी और प्रधानमंत्री जी का मां को लेके कांग्रेस जो भी काम कर रहा है ये निंदनीय है, और बिहार का जनता उसे कांग्रेस को सबक भी सिखाएगा, और मैं विश्वास करता हूं कि देश का जनता भी बहुत ही आक्रोशित है।
राजनीति का स्तर कितना हल्का हो सकता है, ये आरजेडी, राजद और कांग्रेस ने बता दिया।
Congress, however, stands divided on the attack. While party leader Pawan Khera claimed that Prime Minister can't gain sympathy anymore and that in politics one must learn how to bear, Bihar Congress social media chief, on the other hand, when he spoke to CNN News 18, said that they will assess the situation. They will decide what action is to be taken against the person responsible. Pawan Khera, though, however, defended that post. He said that there is no abuse in the video at all and it's just advice. But Congress MP Sukhjinder Singh Randhawa said that it's not right for anyone to bring up anyone's mother. Listen in to these difference of opinions coming in from the Grand Old Party.
इसमें बीजेपी को आपत्ति क्या है? इसमें अपमान कहाँ हुआ, किसका हुआ? नसीहत देना माता पिता का कर्तव्य होता है, तो माता पिता का अपमान तो नहीं है अगर वो नसीहत दे रहे हैं। तो नसीहत लेने वाला अगर उसको अपना अपमान मान ले, जो इस केस में नरेंद्र मोदी हैं, तो वो नरेंद्र मोदी का हेडेक है, हमारा नहीं। इसमें अपमानजनक एक शब्द बता दीजिए उनकी माता जी के प्रति हुआ।
जब ये गाली अंदर निकालते हैं बीजेपी वाले, राहुल गांधी ने तो कभी नहीं रोककर कहा। माँ जो है वो चाहे वो सोनिया गांधी भी माँ ही है, तो और इनकी माँ की हम ज़्यादा रिस्पेक्ट करते हैं कि कोई भी माँ है, मेरी माँ है, जब जूली साहब की है, इनकी है, यार माँ को ऐसे पॉलिटिक्स में लेकर आना मेरे ख्याल की शर्म वाली बात है। माँ का दर्जा बहुत ऊंचा है पॉलिटिक्स के उससे ऊपर।
Now, this isn't the first time that the opposition has brought up Prime Minister's mother during its campaigning. In 2014, Congress leader Rashid Alvi had said that the Prime Minister lives lavishly in a mansion, but his mother lives in a 10 by 10 room, further asking if he doesn't have place for her in his last mansion. 2 years later, Advocate Kapil Sibal targeted the Prime Minister after his mother visited a bank to replace the now defunct banknotes with the high currency ones. Kapil Sibal asked or said that he is a no-good son. In 2018, Congress leader Raj Babbar compared the rupee's falling value against the US dollar with the age of the Prime Minister's mother. And then just last month, during the Voter Adhikar rally of the Congress and the RJD, abuses were hurled at the Prime Minister and his mother from that very stage at Darbhanga. Now, Bihar Congress posted this AI-generated video showing the Prime Minister's mother scolding him in a dream. Will this really backfire for the India bloc, though? At least the RJD on the Congress does not believe so.
इनके पास कुछ कहने को है नहीं, हालांकि हमने वो वीडियो नहीं देखा, ठीक है, लेकिन इन लोगों को अपना हिसाब देने के बजाय जानबूझ के इशू को डाइवर्ट करने का अपना काम भाजपा करती है और कोई नहीं। भाजपा ने जितना अपमानित किया है, नरेंद्र मोदी जी के अपशब्द सब लोगों ने सुने हैं, किसी से छुपा नहीं। तो बिहार के मुख्यमंत्री नीतीश कुमार जी को डीएनए का गाली दी है, इससे बड़ा क्या गाली हो सकती है?
Prime Minister Narendra Modi is scheduled to visit Mizoram tomorrow and inaugurate the Bairabi-Sairang railway line in Mizoram. This line, first conceptualized more than 26 years ago, marks a milestone in the state's connectivity. The Bairabi-Sairang railway line is described as one of the most challenging rail ventures. It stretches across 51.38 kilometers between Bairabi and Sairang. The line is considered an engineering achievement. It's built across one of the most difficult terrains in the country. It includes 48 tunnels spanning nearly 13 kilometers, more than 40 bridges. Bridge number 196 is the most notable of these. It stands at 104 meters above the ground. It is reported to be 42 meters higher than the Qutub Minar as well. This line, built through dense forests, steep slopes and landslide-prone areas, reflects years of planning and execution. This project has come to fruition at over 8,000 crores. I beg your pardon.
बहुत ही खुशी की बात है कि मिजोरम रेलवे के नेटवर्क के साथ माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी कल इनॉग्रेट करेंगे बायरबी सारंग को प्रोजेक्ट को। उसके बाद में मिजोरम रेलवे के नेटवर्क के साथ जुड़ जाएगा। ये बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट प्रोजेक्ट है, बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण प्रोजेक्ट है, क्योंकि मिजोरम की सब जन जन का जो सपना था, हर एक आइजॉल हो चाहे सारंग हो, इस राज्य में सभी का जो सपना था वो सपना कल पूरा होगा। कल माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी 3 ट्रेन्स को इनॉग्रेट करेंगे। एक तो राजधानी एक्सप्रेस दिल्ली के लिए, दूसरा कोलकाता के लिए ट्राई वीकली एक्सप्रेस और तीसरा गुवाहाटी के लिए डेली मिजोरम एक्सप्रेस। उसका नाम ही मिजोरम एक्सप्रेस रखा गया है, वो कल से चालू होगी।
Like the Union Railways Minister there was pointing out that there are 3 new pairs of train services that are going to be introduced from tomorrow from Aizawl. Sairang is located just 18 kilometers from the capital there. A weekly Rajdhani Express train between Sairang and Anand Vihar in Delhi will improve connectivity with the national capital. Bairabi-Guwahati Express train is the second one. It will run daily and will further give an impetus to tourism in the entire northeast region. Sairang-Kolkata Express train will run thrice a week. It will provide important connectivity between Mizoram and West Bengal.
Aizawl is going to get connected via rail, Indian Railways network. For the first time, we are going to see the inauguration of Bairabi-Sairang rail link section. In fact, Prime Minister is going to inaugurate. This is going to benefit people of Mizoram and also the tourists who come here, on a regular basis.
See, let's understand one thing, that in 2014, when our Honorable Prime Minister said that it is not just look east, our policies act east. And he meant that your connectivity, your interaction, your trade, your diplomatic interface with the nations towards east increases. And one of the things that makes a difference is how the connectivity is. It started, it is getting inaugurated tomorrow, And then it is going to proceed from here for another 223 kilometers right up to Myanmar border to make use of a project that has been going slowly. And now we are looking at its completion by next year. That is the Kaladan project. He also said 11 years back that we must ensure that our border areas are connected, the infrastructure is made better, and they get a feeling that they are not very far away from Delhi.
2 days after Charlie Kirk, a conservative activist and a close ally of US President Donald Trump was shot dead at a Utah college event, his killer has now been apprehended. US President Donald Trump announced that the suspect has been taken into custody after a massive manhunt. A palm print, a shoe impression, and a high-powered rifle found in the wooded area. Those were among the clues that the authorities had laid out as they pleaded for the public's help for the last 24 hours to find the person who assassinated Charlie Kirk. But finally, it was someone close to the 22-year-old Tyler Robinson that handed him over to the feds.
I think progress is being made. He's an animal, total animal. And hopefully they'll have him and they'll get him. What he did is disgraceful. Charlie Kirk was a great person, a great man, great in every way, especially with youth. And what he did, what this man did, was disgraceful. So hopefully we'll have him and we will deal with him very appropriately. He was an advocate of nonviolence. That's the way I'd like to see people respond.
The assassination of Charlie Kirk has some eerie similarities as far as Donald Trump's assassination attempt went just last year. Within a year, there seems to be at least 2 such instances that have come to the fore, also raising fears against political violence and violence against political leaders across the United States. Why exactly are these drawing similar comparisons, why are these drawing similarities? Well, here's a look.
President Donald Trump survived an attempted assassination bid in July 2024 during his campaign in Pennsylvania. More than a year later, one of his close allies, Charlie Kirk, a prominent conservative voice, was shot dead at a university campus in Utah while addressing an open-air public gathering. Even though both events took place more than a year apart, it is impossible to ignore the eerie similarities in how both men were targeted. On the 13th of July 2024, Donald Trump was campaigning in Butler, Pennsylvania, when a sniper fired from a warehouse rooftop. Despite Secret Service personnel and local police patrolling the venue, the shooter managed to climb unattended structures and discharged several shots towards the stage. One bullet grazed Trump's right ear, leaving him bloodied but alive. Investigators later learned that the shooter, Thomas Matthew Crooks, had specifically selected a rooftop vantage point to exploit the blind spot in security coverage. On the 10th of September 2025, Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk was shot dead while speaking at Utah Valley University. Kirk was positioned outside an outdoor tent, going back and forth with a student about mass shootings. The next second, a single gunshot rang out. The bullet struck Kirk in the neck, causing him to collapse. He was rushed to a hospital but pronounced dead. The deadly shooting sent the crowd into a panic. Students were seen ducking and rushing out of the university grounds, looking visibly shaken. Trump and Kirk, both powerful conservative voices closely associated with each other, were attacked in public in front of large audiences. A preliminary investigation indicates that a Kirk shooter too had climbed onto a rooftop, taken a concealed elevated position, similar to the one used by Trump's would-be assassin. Both Trump and Kirk were shot in potentially lethal areas of the body. Trump survived as the bullet grazed his right ear. Kirk was shot in the neck, underscoring the intent of the attacker to inflict maximum harm with a single shot. Each attacker also exploited security vulnerabilities in high-profile events, while Trump was guarded by the Secret Service. Kirk had his own personal security along with 6 police officers, some even in plainclothes. Beyond the circumstantial similarities, Trump and Kirk were close. Kirk was widely regarded as a political supporter of Trump, who had played a key role in mobilizing young voters for the Republican Party in the 2024 presidential election. He also worked closely with Trump's sons and campaign advisors, and was often seen as the voice of a rising generation of conservative activism.
There seems to be a bit of a thaw building up between US President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Modi. President Trump posted that he will soon be speaking with Prime Minister Modi in the next few days, and that their respective trade negotiators will be soon meeting and the negotiations will continue, which of course had been stalled after the US imposed oil tariffs back in August. Prime Minister Modi responded to that on social media, saying that the negotiators will speak soon. But even if there is going to be a breakthrough in those talks, the tariffs of 25% might change. But what happens to the secondary oil tariffs of another additional 25%? Because President Trump seems to have linked the oil tariffs, to the conclusion of the Russia-Ukraine war, something that India calls unfair and unjustified. All right, so where do the Trump tariffs stand as of now? There are 2 parts to this conversation that I'm going to have with Mr. Stephen Warren. He's a former United States Trade Representative when Mr. Trump was president in his first term. Thank you very much, Mr. Warren. The first part of it is a domestic question, and that is that U.S. courts, first, district court and now a federal court, an appeals court, has struck down the ability, the powers of the U.S. president to impose these tariffs as per these economic emergency powers of a 1970s act. Now the matter is pending before the Supreme Court. The courts are not taking a very particularly kind view of the imposition of these tariffs, or whether or not the president even has the legal powers to impose them in the first place.
Yeah, so you have it exactly right. There's a 3-level process in the United States. The first level was the U.S. Court of International Trade. They ruled against the tariffs. Recently, we heard from the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit. They ruled, but it was a 7-4 vote. It was regarded as a very divided court over here. So I think the administration has now, the Supreme Court has agreed that they're going to take the case. The administration is going to make its argument to the Supreme Court. And I definitely think that there are people in the administration who think they have a good chance of prevailing on that appeal. And obviously that will be the ruling, and that will be the one that decides for all of us whether the president has the power to impose these tariffs or not.
The case that was made before the previous 2 courts, and the courts didn't quite buy that view, is that this is not an economic emergency, and that the president does not have, the powers. If anybody has the powers, it's the United States Congress that has the powers to use these during an economic emergency, which they were not able to convince the courts of. How do you view that?
Well, the Congress passed a statute, the International Economic Emergency Powers Act of 1977. That statute says that if there is an economic emergency, then the president can regulate imports. Now, the court below divided over what the power to regulate imports means. Some judges thought it included the power to impose tariffs. Other judges thought it didn't include the power to use tariffs. Still, other judges thought, well, he might be able to impose tariffs, but he can't impose this many tariffs. So those are kind of basically the 3 positions. And I think the administration is going to argue that if the statute gives him the power to regulate imports, presumably he could block imports, he could stop imports, then he should be able to charge a fee for imports. And we'll see how that argument goes at the Supreme Court.
I want to talk about the negotiations with India. Of course, India has been slapped with 2 sets of tariffs. First, the 25% reciprocal tariffs, and then there is another 25%, the oil tariffs. And I want to deal with the oil tariffs first, because the view here in India is it's unfair, it's unjustified. India is the only country that's been singled out for these oil tariffs. There are other countries, i.e. China, which import a hell of a lot more Russian oil than India does, but there are no tariffs on China. How do you view that?
Well, I mean, look, so I think the oil tariffs are actually much closer to kind of a traditional economic emergency, right? In other words, this statute has been used many, many times to sanction people who are acting in ways that the U.S. feels is improper. I think the president, is putting a lot of pressure on a lot of countries to back off. I mean, we've already hit China with many, many, many tariffs. Some of the tariffs on China are much more severe than anything that we have on India. So I feel like the president is trying to put pressure on both China and India to stop buying this oil from Russia so that we could cut off the war machine, so that we can finally have peace in that part of the world. And I think that's what you're seeing him try. I don't think it's just India. I think it's both India and China.
But Mr. Won, China's got a reprieve in these tariffs for the next 3 months. India has no reprieve. On the contrary, India's been slapped with the highest tariff in the world, along with Brazil at 50%. So, which is why many here in India are saying this has nothing to do with economics. This is political.
Well, first of all, the use of the tariffs is going to be both economic and political. I think the president's been pretty clear about that. Second of all, China has faced tariffs, significant tariffs from the United States for, going all the way back to 2018. And right now, they have the tariffs from the first Trump administration. They have tariffs based on the fentanyl problem. They have tariffs based on reciprocal tariffs. So you have, electric vehicles from China, for example, face 100% tariffs in the United States. So there are very, very severe tariffs on China from the U.S. So the notion that the Americans are being soft on China, that's just not accurate.
Just tell me, how do you think the tariff story with India is going to play out? Because we saw a period of hostility, I would say, over the last few weeks. And then suddenly in the last week or so, we are seeing conciliatory voices from the president himself and the prime minister here sort of responding to that conciliatory voice. What's the way out? How can the president walk back, certainly from the secondary tariffs that he's imposed on India?
I think these two leaders have always had a very good personal relationship. I think the president has always had a very positive and generally favorable opinion of the prime minister. I think everybody understands the prime minister is an extraordinarily talented and tough person to deal with and negotiate with. So it was always going to be the case that it was going to be a difficult and challenging negotiation between these two men. But I think they have a good relationship. I think the two countries have a good relationship. I do think it was important to show everybody that August the 1st deadline, the Europeans met the deadline, Japan met the deadline, Korea met the deadline. I think people needed to understand that was real. And I certainly think that, people in India need to understand how agitated America is about the situation between Russia and Ukraine. So I think the president has laid down those markers, and it sounds like negotiations are now underway. And obviously, we all hope those negotiations are successful.
And I want to get a final word. Just in terms of how much impact this is going to have domestically in the U.S., already we're seeing the jobs number for August significantly lower than it was a year ago. In fact, over 100,000 lower than what it was a year ago, the non-farms jobs. It's beginning to show. It's beginning to show. And I guess it's going to get worse as we head out to the Christmas season, which is the biggest shopping season in the U.S. calendar.
Yeah, I think, though, I would not encourage people to sort of assume that that's the lesson that the Americans are going to draw. The administration believes and has argued very strongly that to the extent there's any issue with the U.S. economy, the issue is that the interest rates are too high. And I think they expect interest rate cuts within the next month or so, and that should have a stimulative effect on the U.S. economy. The administration is very, very optimistic about the state of the U.S. economy as we head into Christmas and as we head into next year. They do not believe that the tariffs are having a negative effect. So
but at some point, the tariffs are going to be passed on to the American consumer.
I mean, you got to remember we'll have to kind of wait and see about that. I mean, the truth is that the presence of tariffs doesn't necessarily give any companies more pricing power in the United States. And the reality of it is that up to this point, the companies have not been able to pass along the price of tariffs.
Okay, Mr. Stephen Won, former U.S. Trade Representative in Trump 1.0. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Decision of the NDA to choose him as the next Vice President of India is being seen as a message to Tamil Nadu as well. Payal Mehta is with me on the phone line. Payal, CP Radhakrishnan's oath ceremony will begin shortly. We can already see visuals coming in from Rashtrapati Bhavan. And soon after, I'm told, these are live visuals that we are getting, Payal, and soon after the oath, we are told, okay, Payal, interestingly, I can see Jagdeep Dhankar sitting there in the audience, first public appearance. Let's just weigh in on that first.
Well, to begin with, it is a constitutional post that CP Radhakrishnan will continue to have because his immediate task before this was the governor of Maharashtra. And that is something which is coming to the fore as well. But, you know, a lot of political niceties being shown over. Jagdeep Dhankar has suddenly cited health reasons at the beginning of the monsoon session of Parliament on 21st of July and stepped down immediately within a few hours of him, you know, making that official letter public. But, you know, it is a big occasion as far as the NDA is really concerned. CP Radhakrishnan is somebody who comes in from the influential OBC community in Tamil Nadu. He is somebody that the BJP has been waiting to see take one responsibility after the other. He's been somebody who's been Prime Minister Narendra Modi's friend. In fact, while recalling his friendship with CP Radhakrishnan, the Prime Minister said that they were friends when both of them had black hair. And, you know, the Prime Minister made a very interesting observation while he was speaking about CP Radhakrishnan in one of the BJP meetings, saying that he is very, very fond of sports. He's greatly into sports, but Rajniti mein khel nahi karte hain. So that's something which is coming there, and this is probably the first time that Jagdeep Dhankar, ever since him having stepped down, has been seen, you know, in public as well. So, you know, political niceties are going to be there. You can see a lot of BJP, NDA chief ministers that are part of this gathering. There are, of course, opposition leaders. You can see Derek O'Brien on your screen. You can see G.K. Vasan. I can see Pushkar Singh Dhami, Ashok Gajapati Raju. All the governors have also been asked to come to the national capital. White smiles on the face of Devendra Fadnavis, who has been extremely instrumental, not just in making sure that, you know, CP Radhakrishnan got a nice send-off when he left from Mumbai, but also made sure that, you know, cross-voting happened from the state of Maharashtra, from all the parties involved over there as well. So that is something which is going to be a big occasion. Like I said, that all the people are there who need to be there. All people have been invited. We'll have to just wait and see if we do spot Rahul Gandhi or Mallikarjun Kharge there.
Okay, but I can see all the former vice presidents are also sitting in attendance along with Mr. Dhankar. There's Venkaiah Naidu, there's Hamid Ansari. Hamid Ansari was also, attacked repeatedly. But I think this is a constitutional moment, and all the former vice presidents have decided that they must maintain the constitutional decorum, the constitutional niceties, as we are waiting for President Draupadi Murmu to just arrive, and then the oath will begin. I think the President of India is just arriving. And we will just listen in to the sound, to the ambience that is coming in from Rashtrapati Bhavan. I think they're all now waiting for President of India, Draupadi Murmu, to arrive.
आदरणीय राष्ट्रपति महोदय, यदि आदेश हो।
Viewers, this is an obvious that I don't need to tell you, but real life isn't a movie on a 70mm screen. politics isn't a glamorized version of Bollywood hit films like Diwar. Just days after Congress cadre hurled the vilest abuse upon the Prime Minister's mother, the Congress Party's Bihar unit's decision to post an AI-generated video, a polite way of saying deep fake video, featuring Prime Minister Modi dreaming of his late mother, where Ma appears to rebuke politics played in her name, is a political provocation, viewers, that undermines decency in democracy. It has real consequences. In this case, whipping up contempt for a Prime Minister in the imaginations of a susceptible public. Imagine the damage you do, because women, and especially mothers, Ma, are, viewers, as you know, the holy of holies in our country. By using deep fake or satire, not purely for humor, but aimed at an emotional figure long passed away, the Congress risks crossing the ethics boundary, the moral boundary, the philosophical boundary, viewers. The BJP's reaction isn't surprising. It is right in slamming what it calls, quote, cheap tactics, unquote, and demanding an apology. Congress defends the video, saying it contains no disrespectful words, that mothers should correct their children, and that if Prime Minister Modi feels insulted, that is his problem. This is Pawan Khera, viewers, Rahul Gandhi's aide, and he says, and let me quote him, "Where is the disrespect shown to his late mother? Show me one word, one gesture, anywhere that you see disrespect. It is a duty of a parent to educate their child. She's only educating her child. And if the child thinks that it is disrespectful towards him, it is his headache and not mine, not yours. Mr. Modi cannot do touch me not politics. He is in politics and he needs to take everything, even a sense of humor of the opposition, properly. In fact, there is no humor in it. There is nasiyat or advice in this, unquote. This is what has come out of the Congress views. But politics must draw its legitimacy from moral ground, not just provocation. On the right, viewers, you're seeing pictures. The vilest abuse that was hurled at the Prime Minister's mother, base language from a Congress RJD platform. When satire targets those alive and in the political contest, it might spark debate. We have to draw a distinction. The Prime Minister, for example, uses the word Shahzada, which is an attempt to draw attention to nepotism in Congress, which is the antithesis of merit-based progression. The PM's use of satirical adjectives to address Sonia Gandhi have either been a tit-for-tat response or in the context of a larger political narrative. Both Rahul and Sonia hold political office and are drivers of policy. Therefore, being critical of Nehru and Indira Gandhi, even though long departed, is still legitimate. They were, after all, active politicians. The Prime Minister's mother was never in politics. Dragging her into the political sludge is to politicize grief. In Indian politics, there has been a long tradition of not speaking ill of the apolitical relatives of politicians. By breaking this Omerta code, the Congress party has departed very far from morality in public life, viewers. And I don't want to hog this stage. I want to open this up on a critical day like this, because I feel that we are going the way politics is going in the United States. Tomorrow, hate-filled invective will lead to somebody doing something extremely rash. I don't need to tell you. So I want to first begin with the BJP, asking them to set the tone. Why is it that you find this so abhorrent, Shahzad Poonawalla?
Because this has become a pattern, Rahul. Mataji ka apman, Bihar ka apman and Samvidhan ka apman. All of this, by the way, has taken place in the same date. First, they said that when my Prime Minister mother was abused, it was not Congress Karyakarta. It turned out to be a Congress Karyakarta. They denied. Rahul Gandhi did not apologize. RJD spokespersons came and they defended with fake news. And thereafter, from the official handle of Congress today, there is no denying this anymore, is the Bihar Congress handle. And over and above that, Mr. Pawan Kheda and others have justified using AI imagery or deep fake imagery of the Prime Minister's deceased mother. Point number one. Point number two, if it stopped here, one could understand. They've abused Prime Minister 150 times. They've abused the mother so many times, but then they go to abuse Bihar. Today, DMK has abused Bihar, saying that Bihar does not have any wisdom. They have called toilet cleaner. They have used all kinds of invectives for Bihar, people of Bihar. And then thirdly, in the sense that today when the Vice President oath took place, we leave all these things aside. Those who are the champions of Samvidhan, after you have lost an election, should you not come together for a Samvidhanic program, but you boycott the Independence Day program, you boycott Republic Day program.
We'll come to that aspect.
So all three aspects have been insulted today, and I say forget everything else, forget the past. Today, the Prime Minister's mother has been abused from this stage by the Congress party officially. Now, Mr. Ajay Yadav, without any whataboutery, will you call out and condemn the Congress party? The Congress party, which says "Ladki hu lad sakti hu," is in fact justifying and defending this. So, I think that today the Congress party has exposed its anti-mother mindset, and this is happening in a state which reversed Chatti Maiya, which reversed Sita Maiya.
So let me ask you, Dr. Ajay Yadav, thank you first of all for joining us. You know, some days back I was listening to Tejasvi Yadav and he took umbrage at the fact that Nitish Kumar said some things, off-color remarks about his own mother, Rabri Devi ji. Now, somebody who puts mother figure on a pedestal, as we all do, how do those people in the RJD and of course your leader react to this? Because this is from an ally and this is from an official handle of the ally.
First, let me say that Narendra Modi, when you talk about Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his mother, you say that his mother is absolutely non-political. But when you talk of Honorable Chief Minister Nitish Kumar and his wife and his mother, wasn't his mother also non-political? Narendra Modi had no objection, very proudly claimed that Nitish Kumar ka DNA kharab hai, which is the biggest form of abuse to any woman. She was also non-political. Did Narendra Modi ever apologize? Did BJP ever apologize? Nobody ever did. Why? Nitish Kumar's mother is not a mother. Narendra Modi's mother has some important place. Is it like that? All mothers are mothers, whether it's Narendra Modi's or Nitish Kumar or my or yours. And non-political. What is the point of saying non-political and political? If she's non-political, Narendra Modi can say something.
But Dr. Ajay Yadav, I'm not understanding. The distinction is non-political and political. You see, if someone holds a political office, they become more than just an individual. They are the representatives of a people. And,
yes.
And 1 minute, ma'am, they play an important role in a democracy. Now, forgive me for asking this, but wasn't Rabri Devi the Chief Minister of Bihar? And she made certain decisions which were extremely important to the future of Bihar. Some which might have actually had an impact on Bihar. So, if you call out somebody who has played a political role, I can understand. I think you're not comparing apples to apples here. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, Rahul. Narendra Modi holds an important political post.
Yes, ma'am.
So does Nitish Kumar. But when Narendra Modi is the Prime Minister and then he questions Nitish Kumar's DNA, who's a Chief Minister, what do you have to say? Narendra Modi, a political figure, Prime Minister of India, holding the post.
Okay.
To Nitish Kumar, another Chief Minister, a political figure holding the post, Prime Minister saying this to Nitish Kumar's
There
mother,
is a difference.
Both of them holding posts.
Let me tell you, when
Prime
you're talking
Minister
about
and Chief Minister.
Okay.
Why don't we discuss this, Rahul?
Okay. Let me open this up. Let's open it.
Let me
You
just
respond.
make a very small distinction.
Respond.
First of all, the Prime Minister never spoke about the mother of Nitish Kumar, and the comment made was in a political context which Nitish Kumar himself doesn't have a problem. That's why he's in alliance with us. But, one second, madam, I have not interrupted you. But now I ask you directly, the comment is coming at the figure of the Prime Minister's mother, who is no longer with us, and instead of apologizing or condemning or condoning, and Prime Minister has not said he's okay with this comment. In fact, he had a very emotional reaction to it. But Ms. Yadav, I am seeing the way you are defending the sins of Congress. You will also start defending the abuse of DMK for Biharis. You might just do that. Are you so desperate to be called the chief ministerial face that you are defending this?
Yes, I mean, let me tell you, Dr. Ajia Yadav, that this is going beyond just characterizing a mother figure. The entire DNA of Bihar has been called into question. And you know what I'm talking about. Do you know what the DMK minister has said today? He's come out and said that, you see, we are not like Biharis. We know our politics, etc., etc. And this is a very robust alliance pillar of the India grouping. We're talking about the DMK here.
And just
nothing comes out.
Let me show you the statement. PM said something,
Rahul?
1 second ma'am, let me quote, how they lie. Something is wrong in Nitish Kumar's political DNA is his quoted statement.
Yeah, that's
political
what I was saying.
DNA
I
is
made
now
that
being
point.
taken into mother's insult, but your mother's insult is not being seen.
I made that point. I talked about political DNA. I made that distinction. That's why I said you're not comparing apples with apples.
Exactly.
But I want you to tell me, Dr. Ajia Yadav, this is, look, just about a fortnight back, and you know the Prime Minister reacted. He was very emotional. He gave a speech. His mother was abused. I don't even want to take those words. Dr. Yadav, I'm sure you're probably a mother and you're a sister, you're someone's daughter. Would you have liked anyone from your political stage to use the words that were used against Prime Minister Modi's mother? You know what I'm talking about.
Rahul, Prime Minister's mother was abused according to BJP. Hitler Shahi, Bihar Bandh. Why only Bihar Bandh, Rahul?
According to
according to BJP, ma'am, there is
MC.
Rahul, let
The
me
word
complete.
MC.
Let her complete. Let her
Rahul.
complete. Let her complete.
Let me complete. Why only Bihar? Because we have elections this year. India should have been Hitler Shahi. India should have been Bandh. Lekin Bihar Bandh. Bihar mein chunav. He is politicizing his mother. One more thing, Rahul. You say he has got so much respect for his mother who is not in politics. Why does he drag his mother all the time? I'm non-biological. Rahul, please let me complete. Narendra Modi says I'm non-biological.
Attributing wrong quotes.
One minute, Rahul. There are various reels where Narendra Modi shows he's washing his mother's feet. What is the point? He's definitely trying to politicize a prime minister, making reels on his mother and putting it on social media.
Why, ma'am? Is social media
his
only?
mother,
No, hang on. Is the Prime Minister,
non-political?
excuse me, madam, is the Prime Minister not a person?
Of course, he's a person, but he claims
Everyone else, hang on. Rahul Gandhi can go and give his mother hugs, and it's written all over the newspapers what a sentimentalist he is, what a caring son he is. He can give his sister a hug in public and, other things, and people say, oh, what a loving brother he is. Prime Minister goes to his mother once a year on her birthday, washes her feet, and he is supposed to be dragging her into the political fold. Madam, come on, have some sense of perspective. I asked you a question.
Let me clear this
Ma'am,
also.
I'm only asking you a simple question. And that's a question that, you use the word according to BJP. Are you saying that there was no abuse hurled at the Prime Minister's mother from a rally stage of the Congress and RJD? Am I lying? I'm asking you this.
Of course you are lying, Rahul. Because the person who spoke those words, he was a BJP karyakarta.
He was not. It's been fact-checked. Which debate are we in?
I did not speak when you were speaking. You are breaking the decorum. And one more thing, Rahul. You say hugging his mother, washing his feet. Why did he make his mother stand in the line while casting her vote? Wasn't that to politicize? And all TV channels,
She
all social
doesn't
media
have a
was
right.
flashing on
Because
it.
she
It was
becomes the
screaming
mother
that.
of a Prime Minister,
No.
she should become completely invisible, is it? I mean, come on.
Of course,
This is bizarre.
That's
This is
not-
bizarre.
that's
Viewers,
not
this
Rahul.
is bizarre.
That's
This
not
is
Rahul.
absolutely
Let
bizarre. This is absolutely bizarre. The lady in question has never held a political opinion, has never been in politics, has never held office, has never cared to even live with the Prime Minister in his beautiful bungalow in Delhi. Viewers,
Who knows whether Rahul,
Who knows whether-
she cared to stay there or
Oh
not,
my
or
God.
whether Narendra Modi never
Let me
wanted
please
her
set the
to
record
stay
straight,
there.
Rahul.
It is
So
such
many
a
lies
shame.
have been
this is,
peddled on
this
this
is,
way.
ma'am,
I mean, it's
ma'am, please,
unbelievable.
I can't have
Let his mother
a,
stay
look,
with-
okay,
with
Dr.
him.
Ajay,
It
if you're
is
going
such
to
a
be
shame.
so
It is a
bitter
shameful
about
fact.
Okay.
Forget being bitter,
clearly you're
Rahul.
bitter.
At least let's be truthful. On your show, I've seen that. Please now, Miss Yadav, Miss
Did he
Yadav,
allow
now,
his
Miss
mother to stay
Yadav,
with him?
Miss
You have
Yadav. Now
two
you're
sides.
breaking the
Ma'am, she
code.
has no agency of her own. Are you saying that women in this country have no agency of their own? Maybe she chose not to. No, Dr. Ajay Yadav, does a woman have no agency? She must be led by her son or her husband or her brother. She can't have a choice in the matter. She can't say, I don't want to stay with you.
Do you know she had a choice?
But do you know otherwise? Do you know otherwise? Do you know otherwise, Dr. Ajay Yadav? It's your word against my word. It's your word against the Prime Minister's word. But your word must win. This is ridiculous. You're denying a fact that has been captured on TV. I wish I could play that clip, but I could not. It would make my skin crawl to put out those abusive words.
But nonetheless, the fake news has to be called out. Rahul, I just want 20 seconds because the other panelists are also waiting. And I think now, Ajay, you are interrupting and not allowing others to speak.
Now you're going to abuse me.
Now
you're going to abuse me. Now you'll call into question my...
Rahul, let me please set the record straight.
It is a debate or an argument with me.
Rahul, this is the way the debate will become derailed. Let me just have 20 seconds. And Ajay, I have heard you out. Now you have to hear me out for 20 seconds.
First
of all, please, madam, please. Rahul, I think we should do it one by one. That's the way the debate can be done, and the other three panelists are waiting. First of all, everybody heard that MC, BC, etc. These words were used. These are bad words. According to any sane and civilized individual, I'm sure my good friend Gawande ji, who's a very close friend of mine, will testify to that, and so will Kapil Madan. Point number 2. This fact that this is a BJP guy has been busted by you, Rahul, and so many others. It wasn't the BJP guy, was a different guy from Madhya Pradesh who filed an FIR. Ishkaran Bhandari will tell you that how that guy has been tortured. But having said that last point, if the Prime Minister's mother stood in line, this is something to be celebrated. कि भाई प्रधानमंत्री की माता जी ने भी बोला, I will be like a common man. I am not some राजमाता. कि भाई मेरा बेटा प्रधानमंत्री है तो मैं घूमूंगी एसपीजी सिक्योरिटी लेकर, मैं घूमूंगी ऐशो आराम लेकर. This should be things you should learn. Rabdi ji should learn this. Sonia ji should learn this. Forget that. You are justifying abuse.
You forget you have got no information. Rabri Devi is the ex-Chief Minister of Bihar. Sonia Gandhi is a very big political figure.
Yeah.
First of all, you say political figure
madam.
But when you start to reason, you drag political figures into it.
Okay, so one thing I just want to make clear, viewers, I have only interjected when I have felt that the facts have been corrupted to make a particular point. And that is my duty to ensure that the record is set straight. But these are not my words, viewers. Now, I want you to listen very carefully to the words that have been put out by the Congress themselves. Now, we are making a distinction here between a political personality and a non-political personality. Ishkaran Bhandari, let me open this up with you. This gentleman, Mr. Pawan Khera says, you see, Modi is in politics and he needs to take everything, even a sense of humor of the opposition properly. In fact, there is no human in it. This is Nasiyat in this. So he talks about he's in politics. Now, Sonia Gandhi is in politics. Rabri Devi is in politics. She has used her position, they have used their position to make political interventions. Sometimes there have been brusque, sometimes there have been soft, sometimes there have been diplomatic, sometimes they have not been diplomatic. I mean, Khoon ka Saudagar was not exactly a diplomatic word to use, and at that time, she was the Congress president, Sonia Gandhi, and she was talking about a political adversary, Narendra Modi. So Narendra Modi turns around and in the same vein, in the same context, from politician to politician, challenges her, makes his own configuration and remarks. It becomes a tutu meme, which is acceptable in politics, no problems. Two equals going against each other, no problem. One president of the Congress, one obvious figurehead of the BJP, no problems. But do you think this time, by targeting somebody who's not in politics, we are completely transmutating conversations?
Rahul, there is no doubt in my mind that a dangerous red line has been crossed, and I will tell you the reasons, because what will come next, and it's very obvious, next things will come, is going to be very dangerous for politics in India. Firstly, we saw an ex-person abusing the Prime Minister's family mother with vile abuses. Congress had a defense. They could allege it's a false flag operation, they could allege it's a BJP member, even though it's been fact-checked, as Shehzad has pointed out, but at least you could allege that. Immediately after that, When you post an official video in which you try to misuse the Prime Minister's late mother or try to have a mocking sort of a video or an insulting sort of a video, then it's very clear that it is a strategy in which they have decided we will go after the family of the Prime Minister. Now the second aspect, you referred to it, even mafia does not attack family, but that used to be when mafia was not into drugs. The minute drugs law started, they started attacking family members. Are we going into drug lord sort of politics that you will attack family members? And what will be the natural corollary of that? There are people who have wives, there are people who have kids. Will tomorrow some supporter on either side make videos of kids and wife, and everybody wears different clothes, dresses differently, has a different lifestyle, goes to different parties, and would those videos then bring all that into it? And if they bring into it, even though that would be a crime, would people say if official handles can tweet AI videos, why can't we do it? What sort of a politics are we doing when official handles start misusing? It is not a supporter, it is not a news channel doing a video, AI video of a politician. It's a rival political party doing a video of somebody's late mother. Would other family members come? And who will be responsible for it? The person who started it. We just saw what happened in US, where a person was shot dead for having political views. This is the trajectory when you try to go into shutting people down by illegal methods. And AI and using it for these sort of videos, I think is a very dangerous thing, and appropriate action should be taken. Otherwise, we will be in a very, very, very dicey trajectory in the next video.
Did you notice one thing about the video? It's very important. They have deliberately made her look demonic with a bhagwa bindi. No woman wears a bhagwa bindi. This has been done deliberately, bro. I mean, this has been done so deliberately that you make a person who's not with us bhagwa bindi and you make her look demonic, and AJ Yadav is defending this.
Anyhow,
I mean,
one second. Let me. Well, you know, clearly lines have been crossed.
Look at AJ Yadav is laughing.
Clearly lines have been crossed. Okay, one second. Let me just bring in Kapil Madan ji and Anish ji. Kapil Madan, I have to ask you this. You see, a few days ago, just after Operation Sindoor or thereabouts, the Foreign Secretary, if you remember, certain things were said about Vikram Misri ji, and they came from so-called handles that the Congress ecosystem said, belong to the BJP and this, that, the other, and they're dragging the relatives of Mr. Misri into the mud when he has nothing to do, when they have nothing to do with, anything with the NDA or with politics or with bureaucracy, etc., etc. Doxing, it is called. So, Kapil Madan, if that is objectionable, then how is this okay? How is this, we must learn to take it and accept it because everything is fair in politics? Well, this lady is not in politics.
So, Rahul, I totally agree with you to an extent that, a person who is not in politics, you should avoid making political remarks. But having said that, we must not forget, we saw our Honorable Prime Minister making remark like Congress ki vidwa, Jersey cow, hybrid bachda, and it is on record. No Karyakarta, no some worker of any political party made this remark. These remarks were made by our Honorable Prime Minister in open public rallies, in gatherings, etc. So you can't have 2-3 different yardsticks. When it is about Prime Minister, you will have different standard, and when it is about opposition, you will have different standard. And having said so, let me just say one more thing very, very clear. If you look at this video, so I personally feel that making these kind of videos are technically inappropriate, but assuming let's analyze this video also. The content of that video, content of the transcripts of whatever have been said in that video, to my understanding and to my reading of comprehension of this video, is that the video is symbolic in nature. We've all seen all political leaders making political jibes against each other, and that's their job. We also saw my good friend, hold on. My good friend Shehzad is also here. When Shehzad was not in the BJP, he made a remark calling the Honorable Prime Minister as a non-performing asset. It is there available on the...
Those are all political interventions.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
But this is not a political intervention.
So, Rahul, I get that. That's why...
Kapil, one second. I want to make something very clear here. I'll tell you something. Some days back, I tweeted something. Right? one second. I just want to say, I just tweeted something and I remember 5 or 6 people getting after my wife and my mother. Now, I just wondered, I said, what kind of mentality is this? You have a bone to pick with me. You have an axe to grind. Anish, let me bring you in on this. Debate me, no. Why do you want to bring in my wife, what she does, who she works with, what my mother is, who she is, why she has produced me? That's all. No, hang on. So if we can get so Kapil, the reason I took umbrage at that was that my mother or my wife was an innocent bystander. Anish, I mean, why would you drag somebody in who has nothing to do except for being a biological mother? That's all. She only brought Modi into the world. She is not in any way, after that, determined his political career, unlike Rahul Gandhi, whose mother has been instrumental in guiding his political career. Unlike Rabdi Devi, who chose Tejaswi. And you just have to hear the younger brother, the other brother who says all these things about how in the family he has been set aside. Akhilesh Yadav. He was picked by his own father. So when people are making active choices on behalf of their children, setting them up for politics, then I can understand still that there is some reason to bring those people and call them into question. But Anish, this is completely incidental. And I think somewhere we must now recalibrate. Okay, if people have done something that people have found objectionable, let's put the past behind us. Let's start from today, at least a denouncement, if nothing else.
Rahul, to start off with, let me say very directly, right, that the unfortunate part is that going after the family members of those in positions of power has become the new normal and should be condemned across the political spectrum.
No, but hang on. But where? Show me that. Tell me where Mr. Modi, for example, just asking a question, where Mr. Modi has at any level attacked the family member, since we are talking apples to apples, of anybody who's not associated with politics. So, if there is, let's say, Rahul Gandhi, he's never attacked some nephew of Rahul Gandhi who has nothing to do with politics. He's not attacked the niece. He's not attacked.
The 50 crore girlfriend jibe,
yes,
you will remember, was made at somebody who was not in politics at the
50
time.
crore girlfriend jibe.
Okay, let me answer that question.
Was there a context? Was there a context?
Let me answer this very specifically.
There might have been a context.
Let me answer this very specifically.
Let him answer.
Just before
Not that I'm endorsing that.
No.
I just want to be very clear. I never endorsed it. Back then also I didn't endorse it, but there might have been a context. Was there a context or was it just like...
Rahul, even before this they have said Congress ki vidwa. What was the context? The context was that there were certain beneficiaries who were posing as widows and taking the benefits of a particular scheme, and those had been weeded out. Why Congress took the Congress ki vidwa to mean one person? Anish Gawande, please tell me 50 crore ki girlfriend who was named. How have you understood who's 50 crore ki girlfriend? It is a corruption money that has been spoken of. But if Anish Gawande has extrapolated somebody from that personage, then that is Anish Gawande's mindset. Now I am telling very clearly that don't drag in politicians' family who is not there in politics because it has a real risk. For instance, supposing you drag in somebody who's not there and they are then targeted by the very, you know how rowdy the supporters of certain parties can be? What if they attack? What if you make a live AI video of a live person and then the people see the face and they go and attack? Who will take responsibility, Anish? Are you taking responsibility for this?
No, which is why I'm telling you point blank that this needs to be avoided at all costs, right? Recently,
so let's start today. Is the Congress handle right?
Amrita Fadnavis ji, the wife of Devendra Fadnavis ji, was relentlessly trolled on social media.
By whom? By whom?
In a very sexist manner.
By whom?
In fact, unfortunately,
by whom? Kanhaiya Kumar.
That was the unfortunate bit, and I and many others from the opposition.
Yeah, but you know, I'm glad that you raised this issue. I'm glad that, because you see, body shaming viewers, what women should wear, when they should wear it. You see, this is a patriarchal mindset. And it was actually exposed by Dr. Yadav when she says, oh, the Prime Minister should have taken his mother to live with him. Why? She has no agency of her own. That's what I kept coming back to. I'm shocked that this kind of discourse is being injected in the 21st century. But one second, Anish Gawande, you used the example, and I think Mr. Bhandari wants to come in on that point. Mr. Gawande, you used the example of Amrita Fadnavis.
Yeah.
Should I tell you the names of the Congress and ecosystem members who were actually trolling her for what the choice of her clothing was? Ishkan Bhandari, can you remind? I don't want to say it, but can you remind Mr. Gawande? Was Kanhaiya Kumar not involved?
Rahul, not only that, when they were in power... Yes, and when they were in power, what sort of messages and sexist remarks they used to make, because that time they controlled the police also. It's all documented and they haven't stopped even now. When Congress does something that's liberal, but when a woman from BJP or attached to a BJP politician or a part of BJP politician's family does something, they start body shaming and have such vile comments which are actually offenses in law, and they still keep doing it because they know politicians seldom take action. But the other aspect is also very important of agency, where you said, did the mother of the Honorable Prime Minister want to go and live there? I will tell you as a lawyer, there are multiple cases in Delhi where the son or the daughter shifts to a new house, an apartment in Gurgaon or Noida. Family says, we are happy in the house, we have society here, we have colony friends here, we don't want to move. In number of cases where the parents don't want to move with the kids because they don't have the social circle there. What sort of a logic is this?
I think, we have to now, viewers, begin to wonder what is really going wrong. And I'll tell you, see, America, as I wrote in one of my interventions, is a weaponized society. You see, viewers, that's the problem. And you also have weaponized opinions. So militarized society and weaponized opinions becomes a problem. The one thing we don't have for now, at least, is a militarized society. Tomorrow, if that were to happen, there would be mayhem, let me tell you, viewers, and we are going down a very slippery slope, and it's happening very quickly because today there is media of all kinds, and this kind of fakery, a lot of people will fall for it. The other day, I fell for something. I could not verify if this was fake or not, and I tweeted that video, and then, these viewers' comments come where they correct you on X, and I was glad to be corrected because it was so real. So anyone unsuspectingly will think that this is actually true. This is Diwar-like scene, this, as I said, fictionalizing of real life. This doesn't work in politics. There is only room for nuance in politics. There is no room for anything else. Viewers, we have to be very, very careful. Otherwise, we are going to end up in a civil war. Let me tell you this. And I want to move on because respect for institutions, institutionalities, very, very important. And today, once again, as we move on to this other story, in the middle of your screens was a very important day. That gentleman who has just been elected as the Vice President, it was his swearing in. But Rahul Gandhi's choice to skip the swearing in of C.P. Radhakrishnan as India's Vice President isn't a minor omission. It is the active undermining of a long-held convention. And because political courtesies are the lifeblood of a transactional parliamentary democracy like India's, his decision to bunk the oath-taking function of the second highest holder of a constitutional post in the country reeks of a casual disregard for duty. Now, I can understand if on his time, Rahul Gandhi decides he wants to go for a holiday, abandon the people of Punjab. That's his contract between him and the people. They will punish him, hold him in high regard, esteem, whatever. That's between him and the people. But viewers, when you are the holder of an office, that to a constitutional office, you have certain duties. So you can't disregard them. This is even more, as I said, when one considers that Rahul is the leader of the opposition and thus occupies a constitutional post himself. Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge showed up at his age. But Rahul was often a party event apparently. I'm not using the word boycott, though many people have said that he did boycott. If he did, well, viewers, this becomes even, and if it was an act of actual, elective act, then it's more problematic. But when asked about Rahul's absence, his aides tried to change the goalpost. They said, and I quote, the issue is not whether Mr. Gandhi was there or not. The issue is that Mr. Dhankar was there. Finally, he had been allowed to leave his house and come out. When will he be allowed to speak? That is our question, unquote. Casual, viewers, absolute, जिसको कहते हैं नजरअंदाजी of the original sin of omission. The BJP has accused the Congress scion of hypocrisy, sin of omission, of swearing by the constitution but repudiating ceremonies central to our democracy, that too in our parliament. And the party may have a point. This isn't the first time, viewers. On August 15, Rahul Gandhi boycotted the Independence Day event at Red Fort. Viewers, this is about India's sovereignty. as a leader of the opposition, if you boycott that, what is the message you're sending out? August 18, just 3 days later, Rahul Gandhi boycotted Parliament's tribute to astronaut Shukla. Shubhanshu Shukla, viewers. By doing so, what was he boycotting? He was boycotting the industry of India's youth. And it's a moment where the whole nation galvanizes around a massive achievement. But he chose to, as leader of opposition, boycott this event. As if he had a problem with someone scaling a massive milestone. August 21, Rahul Gandhi skips the customary speaker's tea at the end of Parliament monsoon session. He's the leader of the opposition. It also devolves upon him to create the environment, as I said, for the transaction of democracy across the aisles. If LOP means anything, it means being the voice that upholds democratic norms, guards them with a Rottweiler's instinct. And LOP, therefore, cannot afford to treat democratic convention as, optional props, viewers. You can't just say, okay, today I'm there, tomorrow I'm not there. Gandhi's absence diminishes not just his office, but in many ways diminishes democracy and the opposition that he represents in Parliament, viewers. And I want to open this up because this is a fundamental question that we need to put today. And Mr. Gawande, I want to ask you this. This is a pattern. It's become an ugly pattern. And in this case, it reeks of someone who's a sore loser. You lost a fair and square election. You didn't have the numbers. Have the grace at least to say, okay, I'm there. Let's make a new beginning. This gentleman that he was boycotting, CPR as he's called, is a person who was an exemplar as a governor. He had great equations across all the aisles. So he is someone who is very well connected and respected by opposition as well. I mean, if the Congress president could be there, why couldn't the leader of opposition be there?
At the very outset, Rahul, when the vice president was both nominated by the NDA and when he was elected, we were one of the first to congratulate him, right? He has served Maharashtra well as its governor. We've, of course, had our differences with him, but he has built relationships across party lines. But unfortunately, what you're seeing unfold in front of you today, particularly in Parliament, and you have to see this in the larger context, is a breakdown of trust between the government and the opposition, right? There was a fundamental breakdown of trust in the last session of Parliament when there were no opposition concerns that were listened to. And should the leader of opposition have been there today? Perhaps, yes, I agree with you, right? But can we also absolve the government of its responsibility to ensure that they take the opposition into account?
I'm not absolving anyone. Anish Gawande, look, I'm on principle here. And if other opposition leaders could be there, if Kharge, the Congress president, if anyone, it should be Congress President Kharge. In fact, he got up in the House and he remonstrated when the previous, chairman of the House, Mr. Dhankar, that you have so much concern for, when he refused to allow the opposition to speak. At that time, Mr. Kharge fulminated, yes, within his rights to do that, if he feels that he has been in any way, discounted. But for God's sakes, here is a new man. Try at least work with him, build a relationship, show him the respect. If on day one you're going to say, I'm sorry, we reject your victory, number one. Number two, your entire office. And therefore, we call into question your own partiality. What message are you sending out to him? And why is Rahul Gandhi the only guy who's absent? Everyone else has it in them to come there. He's some special case or what? Some special sulker.
That's certainly a question to be posed to the Congress party, Rahul. As you know, I don't tend to become the spokesperson for another party on national television.
Well,
but I can say this, that we must have some honest conversation today about the breakdown in political trust that has taken place across the board. And if not restored, it's going to...
There are times when you have those conversations, and there are times when you also pay tribute to long-standing conventions. Yes, you want to make a point, the BJP... trust has broken down, says Anish Gawande. Don't put this on us all the time. Rahul Gandhi is demonstrating against the fact that trust is broken. And partisan spokespeople and it's not spokespeople but chairmen of the house, etc., etc.
I'll
And
address
he's
that
Gawande
in
is making
just
that.
20 seconds, but you have chosen the best word to articulate this debate, grace. You know who epitomizes grace most? Forget I'm a political rival of Anish, but Supriya Sure. She is actually the epitome of political grace. She went abroad to keep India's case. She did not make invectives against the parliamentary delegation. Yesterday when the results, the day before when the results came out, she was asked that 315 milna tha, 300 mila. She said, we must introspect. But I congratulate CP Radhakrishnan. Now this man, Rahul Gandhi, is entirely opposite of grace. By the way, Anish, you are Gen Z, I am millennial, and Rahul is little elder than us, just 1-2 years elder. But having said that, you don't know.
Baby boomer as yet.
But you know, when the maximum deficit of trust took place, breakdown of trust, when emergency was imposed and entire opposition was put in jail, even then, the official programs were never boycotted by Vajpayee ji. That is called the grace in politics. Even Sharad Pawar ji has shown that. Lastly, let me make a point. Anish ji, if it is breakdown of trust, what breakdown of trust in Shubhanshu Jukla's discussion? What breakdown of trust in Samvidhan Divas program? What breakdown of trust in Tiranga Yatra? What breakdown of trust in Independence Day program at Red Fort, sir? Chalo, everywhere else we understand. This is a pattern. Anish, it is a pattern of creating democratic deficit. मैं चुनाव हार जाऊं, EC खराब. मैं जुडिशरी में केस हार जाऊं, जुडिशरी खराब. मैं वाइस प्रेसिडेंट को बताऊंगा ये संघी है. You called it battle of ideology. The battle of ideology is that you did not even make OBC your candidate. We made. And now you are abusing the same OBC Tamilian candidate. I wonder what DMK has to say.
No, so someone posted, and I don't want to sort of, lean on it too much, but someone said that, look, when it came to the president, Rahul Gandhi presented his credentials, and as you know, she's a tribal, viewers. About a year and a half later, this is what I read somewhere. I don't know if those are the facts. I haven't checked.
No,
but
no.
I'm just saying.
The first Samvidhan Divas program under her leadership, it was boycotted by Congress.
So there you have a tribal boycotted. Now you have a leader.
OBC boycotted.
Yeah, an OBC boycotted. Now you have a leader who is also somebody from a backward community. You didn't even have the grace to put up a backward, I'm talking about the Congress here, a backward candidate, in fact, because they put up a Reddy. I don't want to get into caste because I don't believe in that. But fundamentally, if you are talking about optics, you are talking constantly about jitni abadi, utna haq, then at least it should have devolved upon you to make it a point. Anyhow, I just want to bring in the two lawyers here because both are conversant with constitutional issues, and you can perhaps open this up. And Ishkan Bhandari, there are 3 or 4 issues here. Rahul Gandhi is the exception here. He is not the norm. So he's one of the only ones who skips the Red Fort. He skips the Shubhanshu Shukla thing. We also saw a number of other opposition parties walk out of there. So national issues skipped. Then he makes it a point to come out and say that, you see, even that election was, there was thievery there also. You know the words. So what do you make of this, first of all? Am I overplaying the aspect here by saying that, have we come to a point where duty has been discarded and the LOP's office itself has been diminished, or do you agree with me fundamentally?
Rahul, I think you're underplaying the issue rather than overplaying the issue. With great constitutional offices comes the duty to discharge the responsibility of the office. You are the leader of opposition. That is a post recognized. You get a very fancy bungalow because you're leader of opposition. You get a seat in the parliament in the front of the opposition benches because you are the leader of the opposition. That leader of the opposition, along with these privileges and various others, has a duty and responsibility to be a part of constitutional oath taking where a vice president is being sworn in. So when you do not discharge that duty, do you deserve to remain the leader of opposition? We don't have such cases. We never had cases where Chief Minister was in jail and he would still say, I will not resign. I don't think so have had examples where leader of oppositions refuse to discharge their constitutional duties. Would we have cases and PILs on people who are not discharging their duties? I do not know. Prime Minister has to discharge his duty. Does the leader of opposition not have to? That's why I'm saying we are underplaying the issue. The second aspect, the dangerous aspect. We see what happens in Nepal when people deliberately try to say that there is no trust in government. Is it a methodology in which step by step, every institution you want to destroy the trust in judiciary, election commission. 2014, you could not blame election commission, ED, CBI, but from 2019-24 onwards, they have gotten added onto it. Now the president or the vice president, you could say it's a clean slate. We will start with a clean slate, but you don't want to start with a clean slate. You want to insult the office of the vice president. You don't want to attend it. So my short question is, if you are not willing to discharge your constitutional responsibilities, should you remain in the post?
This is petulance to provoke insurrection, in a manner of speaking, is what Ishkan Bhandari is saying, Mr. Madan. Is that where we are going?
So, Rahul, I think we are trying to, read too much into it. Absence in any particular function or any kind of an event does not mean that you have boycotted, because you yourself have said Mr. Kharge was there, he attended despite his age. And just because Mr. Gandhi was unable to attend that event, I mean, it is extremely imaginary to say that that event has been boycotted. And let me just give you a context of it. What is the context we are trying to say? I've heard my good friend Ishkaran, he is trying to project there is a constitutional duty, you are an LOP, and therefore you should attend all these kind of function, and it is sort of a disrespect if you don't attend these kind of events and function. Now let me just give you an example. Now what BJP is actually trying to do is they're trying to do loud politics over it. But where, the disrespect really lies is you need to see and, find out the manner in which the erstwhile Vice President, Mr. Dhankar, had to resign. In fact, what we saw several reports, speculation. In fact, several media house, floated theories. And there are some reports that said that he also called a meeting which was not attended by...
No, Mr. Madan, separate issue. You're saying that we should not speculate on Rahul Gandhi's motives, but we should speculate about
I think
Mr. Dhankar.
The point we're trying to address here is whether, as a constitutional functionary, you owe a respect to some, constitutional office or not. I am saying the manner in which Mr. Dhankar had to resign, his absolute silence after his resignation.
No, one second. How do you know about the manner? Were you, hang on. Were you sitting in his pocket? Were you in the nib of his pen? Were you in his pocket? Were you, hang on. Were you in his mind?
No, were you there? Were you there?
No, so I can't say.
Were you there?
So I'm not going to hazard. No, hang on, just a minute.
So everyone is trying to...
No, 1 second. No, don't read. No, I'm not reading between the lines. Hang on, just a minute.
I am not reading.
I take offense. Mr. Madan, 1 second, please. 1 second. I take offense at something. 1 second, just please 1 second. Viewers, I never said, and I've never said, whether Dhankar was made to go or whether he resigned under duress. No, you said there were enough. Let me finish. No, Mr. Madan.
I never said it. He was made to resign. I never said it. You replay
Did you not say that there was a lot of media reportage?
Yes.
So
you do
there
a
is.
fact check.
So I know that. So I'm saying. So 1 minute. Let me finish, Mr. Madan, if you allow me. Just give me 30 seconds. What you said was there was a lot of stuff in the media, etc. Is it possible? And therefore, the question that we should be asking is whether he was asked to go or not. The point is, viewers, media speculation is not the basis for asking a question. I am not asking a question on something that is hypothetical. I am only asking, why could Rahul Gandhi not be there? And it is a pattern. Republic Day, you are not there. Shubhanshu Shukla, you are not there. You call yourself a youth leader. This was a point of connect with India's youth that are looking up to our space scientists and are seeking inspiration.
Specific facts.
You should have been there. So I am not talking in the air. The man is not there, viewers. Everyone else is there, and he holds a constitutional position. He's the LOP. There are certain conventions.
Yes.
That is the point. He is not just a member of parliament. It's actually Mr. Kharge who's a member of parliament. He might be the Congress president, but the party is not the executive. And neither is it really anything spectacular when it comes to having a particular position constitutionally. The LOP is.
Now, Rahul, who is the LOP in Rajya Sabha?
Just 10 seconds.
Who is the LOP in Rajya Sabha?
Just 10
no,
seconds.
just one question. Who is the... Just hold on.
It is Mr. Kharge. But where is the LOP of Lok Sabha?
He was there.
Just 10 seconds.
He was there, no.
So Lok Sabha can disappear.
So now you are saying, now I
Just
take
10
back
seconds,
your
Rahul.
logic only. You are saying LOP,
Just
but
10
LOP for
seconds.
Rajya Sabha, Mr.
Just
Kharge
10
was
seconds,
there.
Rahul. Just 10 seconds. Rahul, just 10 seconds. Look, if you pride yourself, Mr. Madan, I've heard you out. If you pride
So why
yourself,
doesn't Mr. Kharge come and become the LOP of the Lok Sabha?
Anyway,
When the Lok Sabha is in session, एक ही बात है ना, 2 for 1.
Rahul, just 10 seconds. Rahul, just 10 seconds. Mr. Madan, please don't be uncharitable to me. Don't be uncharitable to me. Let me make my point. 10 seconds. When you pride yourself as a Samvidhan savior, the Samvidhan is bigger than all of us. It is bigger than all personalities. Therefore, when it's a Samvidhanic program, forget everything else. The petulance is this level, and Ishkaran will know this. When Chief Justice Sanjeev Khanna had a oath ceremony, because he's the relative of H.R. Khanna. You know who is H.R. Khanna?
Yes.
Again, Gavandeji, you're Gen Z, you don't know. H.R. Khanna was the judge who was superseded by Indira Gandhi, and then she made Mr. Ray the Chief Justice. Only time it happened in the country.
You be careful, huh? He might burn your house down. So be careful about that. Gen Z, don't mess about with Gen Z.
This is a good Gen Z.
No, this is Indian Gen Z.
All Gen Zs are good.
Indian Gen Zs are not like this.
All Gen Zs are good. Anyway, so point is that Sanjeev Khanna's oath ceremony was also boycotted by Rahul. By the way, Rahul boycotted, not you, boycotted VP oath, I Day, R Day, parliamentary session, also.
Yeah, there is a pattern
Shubhanshu Shukla, Tiranga Yatra, Samvidhan Divas. None of this is meant for Modi. And by the way, just for last example, Sharad Pawar is one of the tallest leaders of Maharashtra. In Maharashtra, what opposition, what chief minister, what government, what minister, when we have to felicitate Sharad Pawar ji for his contribution, he sits on the stage and Fadnavis ji felicitates him.
Yeah, and
this is the way we come together.
No, and I have to
look
say
at
that this
man,
has also
Rahul.
now become true of chief ministers' oath-taking ceremonies, where political parties disappear, especially the ones that have lost the election. Yes, Ishkan Bhandari wanted to make a point, and then Mr. Madan. Yes, and Mr. Gawande. Yeah.
Just a short point. If Mr. Kharge was there, that is good because that's his responsibility as leader of opposition. But if the Lok Sabha leader of opposition does not come there, that is the problem because we owe our constitution has fundamental rights, fundamental duties. Same way high offices have duties and responsibilities. To me, this is a part of responsibility to be a part of the official functions, to be part of official constitution working where a vice president or a chief justice gets sworn in. But if you do not come, then you disregard that duty. That is why my point is, if you keep doing this, you should not be in office. You should say power is poison, not be in the office. Let somebody be the leader of opposition. But if you are that, then please discharge your duties and your precedents and the protocols.
So what I can't understand, viewers, there's a contradiction. And Kapil Madan, you need to answer this. Look, if you believe that the system is rigged against you, why are you contesting an election? And then saying that we're going to win it. You can't say that the same system is going to suddenly do a somersault and on election day, when there is polling day, you're going to get a result in your favor because you made the better point. Then why are you on your bikes?
No, are you trying to suggest that, there cannot be a situation where, some official have done, or someone has, won an election by an illegal means or by using.
Do you have any credible evidence?
If you have these doubts,
are you trying?
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. But no, hang on, just a minute. This is a very interesting view. No, one second. I just want to bring out another fact. About a month ago, Tejasvi Yadav was saying we are going to boycott this election. Suddenly they've done a U-turn. Why, viewers? Because now they think that they're winning this election after going out there and talking about vote chori. Suddenly say that's the only issue. Now, viewers, if vote chori, if vote chori is such a big issue, why won't you move the Supreme Court in your person? The Supreme Court itself has asked.
Let me give you
the Supreme Court has asked. Come.
Yeah. So let me give you a very categorical answer. If you look at the press conference done by Mr. Rahul Gandhi, he has raised several issues. He has raised
Madras High Court threw it out.
Hold on, Shehzad, I never interrupted. Let's be civil. Let's be civil. Okay. So he has raised several issues. He has raised issues where there were duplicate voters. He has raised issues where you had voters which has dubious.
What does that have to do with Radhakrishnan's vote?
Hold on. I was asked a question and I'm responding to it. Now it is whose responsibility to make electoral rules. It is whose responsibility to ensure that duplicate voters are not there. So if you are not performing your function, now what are you trying?
That's why he boycotted Radhakrishnan's vote ceremony.
No, I am sorry. I never
was
said
he busy
that.
in Malaysia?
I was asked the question and I am responding to that.
Okay, so the point is, my response to that very quickly, Mr. Madan, is that if you feel that there are so many problems, why don't you approach the Supreme? The Supreme Court has asked you, come, file an affidavit before me.
No. So tell me,
No,
in
what?
fact,
No.
Mr. Hold on. BJP's, one of the leader, Mr. Anurag Thakur, he also raised the similar points.
He raised the point
He
on
also raised
Congress, not
similar
on the Election
points.
Commission.
Hold
Forget
on,
that's irrelevant.
hold on.
Point is that
Did he
why
go to
did you
Supreme Court?
boycott
Sir, did the
Vice
matter
President's
of
ceremony?
Sonia
Supreme
Gandhi?
Court?
Did the
Did
matter
he go
of
to
Sonia?
Supreme
One
Court?
second, sir. Listen to me. The matter of Sonia Gandhi, okay, having two epic numbers, contesting on her own sort of Italian citizenship, allegedly. What did the Supreme Court do? It threw it out, the petition. You took great delight in saying, see, false agenda. Now, when the High Court and the Supreme Court have kicked out your petitions, done through proxy, you still say, no. There is a problem.
No.
Apples
so
to
which petition
apples.
get kicked out?
Apples to apples.
Petition get kicked out?
The High Court in Madras.
The Madras High Court has thrown out, but Kapil, this is not the
Anyhow, one
issue.
second. The issue is
Kapil,
the issue
let
is
me
about.
again put the issue. Is the reason
issue is
you
about-
said that I can't attend all the programs? I'm LOP. I'm busy.
Yeah.
Are you busy to go to Malaysia? Or are you busy to come to the Vice President's oath?
That's why I said. One second. You see, the LOP, being the LOP means it's the voice that upholds democratic norms. Ishkan Bhandari. That is the point you were making.
Yes. Rahul, also on vote chori, Kapil knows the criminal law also. Forget going to Supreme Court. If somebody, if election commission officer in any state, and you have state police also, is doing vote chori, register an FIR, arrest him. You have state government, you have state police. Anybody doing vote chori would be a crime. So you arrested. Doodh ka doodh, pani ka pani ho
No, but
jayega.
they are so
you don't
busy
want
right
to do
now
it.
filing
I
FIRs
think,
against
Rahul, we have
journalists.
moved past the stage
Unko
of
kahan
anarchy.
time milega? I mean, they
Yeah,
use their
but-
police and their whatever CID, etc., to lock up journalists, YouTubers, influencers. People like me are chased around the country. Viewers, those FIRs you will file with great alacrity. The ones that supposed to matter to you to save democracy, to uphold this great framework of our democracy, those FIRs you will not form. You will not file. That's a good point, actually, Ishkan Bhandari. It's a very good point. Look, viewers, fundamentally it is this, that the decision to constantly boycott bipartisan events, apolitical events, is an assault on democratic propriety, viewers. It's not a crime. It's an assault on democratic morality, viewers. And if you are doing so, you're diminishing the office that you hold because you're undermining the duties that go along with that office. And that is fundamentally the problem here. It is born out of petulance, but viewers, it is murdering principle. I leave it at this.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Decision of the NDA to choose him as the next Vice President of India is being seen as a message to Tamil Nadu as well. Payal Mehta is with me on the phone line. Payal, CP Radhakrishnan's oath ceremony will begin shortly. We can already see visuals coming in from Rashtrapati Bhavan. And soon after, I'm told, these are live visuals that we're getting, Payal, and soon after the oath, we are told, okay, Payal, interestingly, I can see Jagdeep Dhankar sitting there in the audience, first public appearance. Let's just weigh in on that first.
Well, to begin with, it is a constitutional post that CP Radhakrishnan will continue to have because his immediate task before this was the governor of Maharashtra. And that is something which is coming to the fore as well. But, you know, a lot of political niceties being shown away. Jagdeep Dhankar has suddenly cited health reasons at the beginning of the monsoon session of Parliament on 21st of July and stepped down immediately within a few hours of him, you know, making that official letter public. But, you know, it is a big occasion as far as the NDA is really concerned. CP Radhakrishnan is somebody who comes in from the influential OBC community in Tamil Nadu. He is somebody that the BJP has been waiting to see take one responsibility after the other. He's been somebody who's been Prime Minister Narendra Modi's friend. In fact, while recalling his friendship with CP Radhakrishnan, the Prime Minister said that they were friends when both of them had black hair. And, you know, the Prime Minister made a very interesting observation while he was speaking about CP Radhakrishnan in one of the BJP meetings, saying that he is very, very fond of sports. He's greatly into sports, but Rajniti mein khel nahi karte hain. So that's something which is coming there, and this is probably the first time that Jagdeep Dhankar ever since him having stepped down, has been seen, in public as well. So, political niceties are going to be there. You can see a lot of BJP, NDA chief ministers that are part of this gathering. There are, of course, opposition leaders. You can see Derek O'Brien on your screen. You can see G.K. Vasan. I can see Pushkar Singh Dhami, Ashok Gajapati Raju. All the governors have also been asked to come to the national capital. White smiles on the face of Devendra Fadnavis, who has been extremely instrumental, not just in making sure that, C.P. Radhakrishnan got a nice send-off when he left from Mumbai, but also made sure that, cross-voting happened from the state of Maharashtra, from all the parties involved over there as well. So that is something which is going to be, it's a big occasion, like I said, that all people are there who need to be there. All people have been invited. We'll have to just wait and see if we do spot Rahul Gandhi or Mallikarjun Kharge there.
Okay, but I can see all the former vice presidents are also sitting in attendance, along with Mr. Dhankar. There's Venkaiah Naidu, there's Hamid Ansari. Hamid Ansari was also, attacked repeatedly. But I think this is a constitutional moment, and all the former vice presidents have decided that they must maintain the constitutional decorum, the constitutional niceties, as we are waiting for President Draupadi Murmu to just arrive, and then the oath will begin. I think the President of India is just arriving. And we will just listen in to the sound, to the ambience that is coming in from Rashtrapati Bhavan. I think they're all now waiting for President of India, Draupadi Murmu, to arrive.
आदरणीय राष्ट्रपति महोदय, यदि आदेश हो तो निर्वाचन आयोग से प्राप्त उपराष्ट्रपति के निर्वाचन का प्रमाणन पढ़ा जाए। यतः भारत के संविधान के अनुच्छेद 324 द्वारा भारत के उपराष्ट्रपति के पद के निर्वाचन का अधीक्षण, निर्देशन और नियंत्रण भारत निर्वाचन आयोग में निहित है और यतः श्री जगदीप धनखड़ द्वारा 2025 के जुलाई मास के 21वें दिन तदनुसार शक संवत के वर्ष
Hello, Namaskar. This is First Post and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. America's U-turn continues. After Donald Trump, his diplomats are sweet-talking India. They say a trade deal is likely in the coming weeks. What's more, Trump could be preparing for a trip to New Delhi. Can this lead to a reset between India and the US? We'll tell you why roadblocks remain. Also on the show, China is ditching NVIDIA chips. Giants like Alibaba and Baidu are using homegrown semiconductors instead. In Brazil, former President Jair Bolsonaro has been sentenced to 27 years in prison. But is this really the end of his political movement? In Nepal, a new interim Prime Minister, Sushila Karki, takes charge. Can she steer the fragile Himalayan nation through its many crises? Poland emerges as the new flashpoint in the Ukraine war. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi heads to Manipur tomorrow, his first visit since ethnic clashes erupted 2 years ago. In the US, the suspect accused of assassinating Charlie Kirk is now in custody. How animals may have an internet of their own. And finally, would you dare to try a salmon sperm facial? A special report on this new beauty fad. All this and more coming up. The headlines first. The United Arab Emirates summons Israel's deputy ambassador. The move comes days after Israel bombed Hamas leaders in Qatar. Abu Dhabi has called the attack cowardly. The UAE is one of the few Arab countries with formal ties to Israel. Russia pauses direct peace talks with Ukraine, blaming European countries for hindering the process. Moscow and Kiev have held 3 rounds of talks this year. Despite pressure from US President Donald Trump, a deal remains unlikely. South Korean workers detained in America's largest immigration raid return home. More than 300 of them landed in Incheon today. The raid and arrest have triggered outrage in South Korea. Prominent media outlets say the workers were treated like prisoners of war. A close shave at the Mumbai airport today. A SpiceJet plane from Kandla loses its wheel after takeoff. The aircraft made an emergency landing in Mumbai. Later, all passengers disembarked safely. And designer Giorgio Armani's will is revealed. The Italian fashion giant will be sold or will seek an IPO in the coming years. Armani wants his heirs to sell up to 70% stake. Priority will be given to French luxury brands LVMH and L'Oreal. Armani passed away last week at the age of 91. It's outreach season in Washington. Every day there's a new overture to India, a bid to win back New Delhi. We saw it first from President Donald Trump. He spoke twice about his warm ties with India. Now the diplomats are taking over. Trump's Secretary of State Marco Rubio and his nominee for ambassador to India, Sergio Gore. Gore is testifying in the US Congress right now. It's part of the process. Ambassadors have to be cleared by the American Parliament, the Congress as they call it, and lawmakers question the appointee before clearing their name. So Gore is being grilled by US lawmakers. They're asking him about his plans in New Delhi, and it is shaping up to be insightful, this exchange. Gore was introduced to Congress by Marco Rubio. He's the US Secretary of State, that's America's version of Foreign Minister. He began with an assessment of India-US ties. And guess what was the general consensus in the US Congress? That Trump has destroyed it, the relationship with India. Trump has destroyed it, but Rubio tried to salvage the situation. He called India one of America's top partnerships.
Sergio Gore, who is the nominee to India, which is, I would say, one of the top relationships the United States has in the world today in terms of the future of what the world's going to look like. 21st century, the story is going to be written in the Indo-Pacific. In fact, it's so important we've actually changed the name of the combatant command to the Indo-Pacific. India is at the core of that.
Then it was Gore's turn. He is just 38 years old. If confirmed, he would be the youngest US ambassador to India, and he's not a career diplomat. He is a political appointee. Sergio Gore is a close friend of Donald Trump's son. He managed finances during the 2024 campaign, and after that, he's been managing Trump's agenda. Gore apparently has walk-in privileges with Trump, something that irked Elon Musk. In fact, Musk called him a snake on social media. But let's keep all the power equations aside. Let's look at his plans for India. Sergio Gore sounded upbeat about the trade situation. As you know, Trump has slapped 50% tariffs on India. 25% of that is so-called reciprocal tariffs. The remaining 25% is for buying Russian oil. But Sergio Gore is expecting a breakthrough, and that too within weeks.
We're actively negotiating with the Indians right now. In fact, the president has invited their commerce and their trade ministers to come visit us next week, and they'll be meeting with Ambassador Greer here in Washington. Part of that will include a hopeful deal. We're not that far apart right now on a deal. In fact, they're negotiating the nitty-gritty of a deal. I do think it will get resolved over the next few weeks.
He also spoke about the personal equation. Gore pointed out that Trump never targets Prime Minister Modi. He may attack India's policies, he may question the trade barriers, but he never personally targets the Indian Prime Minister.
Our president has a deep friendship with Prime Minister Modi, and that is something that is unique. In fact, if you have noticed, when he has gone after other nations, he tends to go after their leaders for putting us in that position and for the United States imposing those tariffs. When the president has been critical of India, he has gone out of his way to compliment Prime Minister Modi.
That's not all. He also hinted at a possible Trump visit to India. The US president was expected to travel in November. That's when India is slated to host the Quad summit. But amid the tariff war, the plans changed. The US media reported that Trump was no longer planning to visit. Now Sergio Gore is saying something else. He says the trip is being discussed in Washington. So all in all, Gore ticked some boxes. He sounded enthusiastic about India-US relations, but not everything went smooth. Like Trump, his ambassador is not budging on Russian oil. He wants India to stop the imports.
Getting India to stop buying Russian oil is a top priority for this administration. Bringing peace around the world is a top priority to this administration.
And it's not just Sergio Gore. Trump's Commerce Secretary is doing the same. His name is Howard Lutnick. Let me quote from what he said. We are going to sort out India. India basically has to open their market and has to stop buying Russian oil. So 2 conditions. 1, the US wants India to open up its markets. I presume he's talking about agriculture and dairy. And 2, he wants India to stop buying Russian oil. Now, both these demands have been non-starters in the past. India is not abandoning Russian oil. If anything, it is doubling down. Look at the data from August. India imported Russian oil worth $3.4 billion. That's up from $3.17 billion in July. So the value of imports is up by more than 7%. Compare that to China. Their imports from Russia have actually plunged from $4.8 billion to $4.2 billion in value. So the message from India is quite clear. Tariff or not, the oil imports will continue. New Delhi will not submit to bullying. The question is, does Washington understand that? We have seen Trump soften his tone, but his demands remain the same. Until those change, progress is unlikely. Also, there seems to be a misconception about India, about India's foreign policy. It was clear in Sergio Gore's statement. He wants to pull India away from China and into America's side.
Chinese expansionism is not just on the border of India, it's all over the area. And so we share a lot in common, and we share a lot of the same concerns that other nations in the region do. So should I be confirmed, we will make that a top priority, that India is pulled into our side and away from them.
Just one problem, though. India is not in the business of picking sides, neither America's nor China's. India prefers to remain multi-aligned and committed to its own interests. This gives New Delhi flexibility and options. If China provokes, we can work with the Americans. If the US provokes, we can turn to the BRICS and SCO. And if nothing works, we can turn inward. Hence the policy of strategic autonomy. It looks like American policymakers do not understand that. They feel they can recruit India against China, first by bullying and tariffing us, and now by sweet-talking us. I'm afraid both tactics won't work. Trump and his officials need to realize that India is not Europe or Britain. You cannot just bulldoze your way around. You must make concessions and meet India halfway. Now let's talk about NVIDIA. It is the world's leading chip maker and it's facing a new challenge from China. China is the largest overseas market for NVIDIA. It's the biggest market after the US for them. And it's a market where NVIDIA is losing ground because Chinese big tech is turning away from them. We're talking about two of China's biggest companies, Alibaba and Baidu. They have started using their own chips. For years, they relied on NVIDIA, but now they're weeding off. The Chinese are building their own chips. Alibaba has been using its homegrown chips for months now. And same with Baidu. They have created something called the Kunlun P800. That's what they're calling their new chip. And both companies are using these chips to train their AI models. They haven't dropped NVIDIA completely though, but this is a significant shift. And it's also a sign of things to come. Chinese players do not want to depend on American chip makers. As of today, NVIDIA has a virtual monopoly on chip supply. And China is challenging it. Alibaba and Baidu are building their own AI hardware. Reports say Alibaba's chip is as good as NVIDIA's H20. The H20 is the only advanced chip that NVIDIA is allowed to sell to China. They created it especially for the Chinese market after Washington barred them from selling high-end chips to China. The H20. Now, Alibaba has created an alternative. Similarly, Baidu is scaling up its Kunlun series. These chips are not the most powerful in the world. They cannot compete with NVIDIA's high-end chips, but they can get a lot done. More importantly, they're improving fast. And they're coming without any strings attached. No export restrictions, no geopolitical headaches. And that is their biggest USP, perhaps. Investors have taken note of this. Chinese technology stocks are surging. This year, the Hang Seng Tech Index rose by 67%. And one company saw its revenue surge by 4,000%. I'm talking about Cambricon. It's a chip company based in Beijing. The value of its stock doubled in August. Alibaba too is up by 66%. Tencent, another tech giant, has gained by 48%. The AI wave is driving Chinese tech, but this rally also raises some concerns. Experts say that this could be a case of overheating, that prices may be outpacing the fundamentals of some of these companies. And if the investments in AI do not pay off, these stocks could correct sharply. They could fall. However, the larger trend is undeniable. NVIDIA is losing ground in China, plus it is facing tough scrutiny. Recently, NVIDIA was summoned by a Chinese regulator. They asked the company to explain backdoor security risks in its chips. NVIDIA denied it. It said there are no backdoors in its chips. But Chinese officials are not convinced. They believe NVIDIA chips could be used for espionage.
Recently, China asked some questions about some security backdoors in our chips. We have made very clear and put to rest that H20 has no security backdoors. There are no such things. There never has.
The irony is hard to miss here. There also appears to be a shadow ban. Chinese authorities are advising companies, Chinese companies, they are being told to avoid NVIDIA chips. There is no official ban, but in practice, NVIDIA is being sidelined. And this could just be the beginning. A top government advisor in Beijing is pushing for stronger action. He says China should, and I'm quoting, China should ditch NVIDIA and develop next generation AI chips at home. In fact, let me quote further from the statement. Continuing to emulate the US could be lethal. So dropping NVIDIA one way or the other seems to be part of government policy now. Let's zoom out. Let's look at some of the recent events. Soon after Donald Trump returned to the White House, he imposed a ban on NVIDIA. He blocked the company from selling the H20 chip to China. Like I said, this chip was specifically created for the Chinese market. It is less capable than NVIDIA's best chips. Despite that, Washington banned its sale. NVIDIA lobbied hard. They did not want to lose the Chinese market. And last month, they struck a deal with the Trump administration. The ban on chip sales was lifted. In return, NVIDIA was to give 15% of its China revenue to the US government.
I am very grateful that the Trump administration has approved licenses for our Chinese customers. The Chinese customers are also expanding their AI services. And so the demand, I believe, is quite great. And so the ability to ship products to H20s to China is very much appreciated. So I'm grateful that the licenses are approved. Shipping H20s to China is not a national security concern. It's great for America and it's great for the Chinese market.
So the Trump administration wanted to cash in on NVIDIA's business in China. But now that same market seems to be closing up. China wants self-reliance in chips. It's not there yet, but it has laid the groundwork. Back in 2021, Jair Bolsonaro made a prediction. He was the president of Brazil then, and he said his future held only 3 possibilities: prison, death, or victory. That was 4 years ago. Now, Brazil's Supreme Court has made the choice for him. It will be prison, and that too for 27 years. What for? For plotting a failed military coup. So what exactly happened here? Also, why is Donald Trump jumping to Bolsonaro's defense? And is this the end of Bolsonaro or just the beginning of something bigger? Tonight, we'll break it down for you. Starting with the man himself, Jair Bolsonaro. He's 70 years old. Until 3 years back, he was the president of Brazil. In 2022, he contested an election for another term. His opponent was Lula da Silva. Lula won, Bolsonaro lost. But he refused to go quietly. Prosecutors say that he spent months sowing doubts, especially on Brazil's electronic voting system. When that did not work, he pressured military leaders. He was plotting to cling to power. The plan never got full military backing, but it did lead to an unforgettable day. January 8, 2023, thousands of Bolsonaro supporters stormed the Brazilian Congress, the presidential palace, and the Supreme Court in Brasilia. It was like Brazil's January 6th moment, like how Trump supporters had stormed the US Congress.
Vai pegar o traficante, o ladrão.
So Bolsonaro was accused of plotting the coup. The case went to the Supreme Court, and the top court has finally delivered its verdict. It's a split verdict. 4 out of 5 justices found Bolsonaro guilty. The charges range from plotting a coup to leading a criminal organization. One judge dissented. He argued that there wasn't enough evidence to convict.
The defendant Jair Bolsonaro was convicted by a majority of the crimes here specific to leading an armed criminal organization, in addition to attempted violent abolition of the democratic rule of law, coup, damage qualified by violence and serious threat against the union's property and considerable damage to the victim and deterioration of the listed property.
So Bolsonaro is convicted. He now faces 27 years and 3 months in prison. He is also barred from running for office till 2060. That's 8 years after the end of his prison sentence. And the sentence itself is historic. No Brazilian president has ever been convicted of trying to overthrow the system that they once led. But here's the paradox. Bolsonaro may be a convict, but he's far from politically dead, because his base remains loyal. Tens of thousands of people are ready to march for him on the streets. His allies in the Brazilian Congress are pushing for an amnesty bill. And then there's a family factor. His sons are politicians. His wife, Michelle, is already seen as a potential heir to his movement. Politicians are jockeying to inherit the Bolsonarista vote. And the real conflict now is not just between Bolsonaro and the court. It's between institutions and a movement that refuses to vanish. And then there's Donald Trump. It wouldn't be a Bolsonaro story without him. The US president counts Jair Bolsonaro as a close ally. They're almost ideological twins. Bolsonaro is called Brazil's Trump. So the US was quick to denounce the ruling. Trump called it a witch hunt.
President
leader of a country. And I always found him to be very straight, very outstanding. Actually, as a man, a very outstanding man. I think it's a terrible thing. Very terrible. I think it's very bad for Brazil.
And Trump has gone further than words. Remember, he slapped 50% tariffs on Brazilian imports just for prosecuting Bolsonaro. That was the reason he gave. The tariffs on Brazil were because of the case on Jair Bolsonaro. And you can understand why Trump is so sympathetic. Bolsonaro's trial looks eerily similar to Trump's own legal battles in the US. It's political persecution disguised as justice.
Well, I watched that trial. I know him pretty well. Foreign leader. I thought he was a good president of Brazil. And it's very surprising that could happen. That's very much like they tried to do with me, but they didn't get away with it at all. But I can only say this. I knew him as president of Brazil. He was a good man. And I don't see that happening.
So what happens next? Bolsonaro's lawyers have already promised to appeal, even at the international level, and that could drag this case for years. In the meantime, he's under house arrest. Congressional allies, like I said, are fighting to pass an amnesty bill, but it won't be easy because Lula's government is unlikely to let it pass. Meanwhile, the Bolsonaro camp is strategizing. The next election is in 2026. If the man himself cannot run, maybe his wife will, or so they hope. Because Bolsonaro has political momentum. And this story is important because Brazil is not just another country, it is Latin America's largest democracy. It's a major player in global trade and energy. A destabilized Brazil will have ripple effects everywhere. Add Trump's sanctions and fiery rhetoric, and you have a deadly mix. A geopolitical tug of war over Brazil's future. So this may be the end of Bolsonaro's politics for now, but not of Bolsonaro the idea. And for Brazil's democracy, that's the bigger challenge ahead.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Decision of the NDA to choose him as the next Vice President of India is being seen as a message to Tamil Nadu as well. Payal Mehta is with me on the phone line. Payal, CP Radhakrishnan's oath ceremony will begin shortly. We can already see visuals coming in from Rashtrapati Bhavan. And soon after, I'm told, these are live visuals that we're getting, Payal, and soon after the oath, we are told, okay, Payal, interestingly, I can see Jagdeep Dhankar sitting there in the audience, first public appearance. Let's just weigh in on that first.
Well, to begin with, it is a constitutional post that CP Radhakrishnan will continue to have because his immediate task before this was the governor of Maharashtra. And that is something which is coming to the fore as well. But, you know, a lot of political niceties being shown away. Jagdeep Dhankar has suddenly cited health reasons at the beginning of the monsoon session of Parliament on 21st of July and stepped down immediately within a few hours of him, you know, making that official letter public. But, you know, it is a big occasion as far as the NDA is really concerned. CP Radhakrishnan is somebody who comes in from the influential OBC community in Tamil Nadu. He is somebody that the BJP has been waiting to see take one responsibility after the other. He's been somebody who's been Prime Minister Narendra Modi's friend. In fact, while recalling his friendship with CP Radhakrishnan, the Prime Minister said that they were friends when both of them had black hair. And, you know, the Prime Minister made a very interesting observation while he was speaking about CP Radhakrishnan in one of the BJP meetings, saying that he is very, very fond of sports. He's greatly into sports, but Rajniti mein khel nahi karte hain. So that's something which is coming there, and this is probably the first time that Jagdeep Dhankar, ever since him having stepped down, has been seen, you know, in public as well. So, you know, political niceties are going to be there. You can see a lot of BJP, NDA chief ministers that are part of this gathering. There are, of course, opposition leaders. You can see Derek O'Brien on your screen. You can see G.K. Vasan. I can see Pushkar Singh Dhami, Ashok Gajapati Raju. All the governors have also been asked to come to the national capital. White smiles on the face of Devendra Fadnavis, who has been extremely instrumental, not just in making sure that, you know, CP Radhakrishnan got a nice send-off when he left from Mumbai, but also made sure that, you know, cross-voting happened from the state of Maharashtra, from all the parties involved over there as well. So that is something which is going to be it's a big occasion. Like I said, that all people are there who need to be there. All people have been invited. We'll have to just wait and see if we do spot Rahul Gandhi or Mallikarjun Kharge there.
Okay, but I can see all the former vice presidents are also sitting in attendance along with Mr. Dhankar. There's Venkaiah Naidu, there's Hamid Ansari. Hamid Ansari was also, attacked repeatedly. But I think this is a constitutional moment, and all the former vice presidents have decided that they must maintain the constitutional decorum, the constitutional niceties, as we are waiting for President Draupadi Murmu to just arrive, and then the oath will begin. I think the President of India is just arriving and
The suspense is over. Nepal's Gen Z have chosen. The country has a new interim prime minister. It is this woman, Sushila Karki. She is 73 years old. She began her legal career in 1979. In 2007, she became a senior advocate. And in 2016, she became Nepal's first woman Chief Justice. During her tenure, she was synonymous with anti-corruption rulings. So her appeal is obvious. Nepal's young generation has only known corruption as a fact of life. It's clear why they chose Karki. In the past, she has said no to the political rot. And here's where the story becomes uniquely Gen Z. Karki was chosen not in government halls. Her name was floated on Discord. It's a US gaming platform. But in Nepal, it has become a protest command center. The platform has communities which are called servers. And one server is called Youth Against Corruption. It has more than 130,000 members. In this, there are sub-communities or channels. They're performing different tasks for ground updates, fact checks, emergency helplines, and even memes. So updates are decentralized and fast. In fact, reports suggest that they were voting for who to choose as interim prime minister on Discord, on the same platform. And Karki quickly became the front runner. She had more than 7,700 votes. Now, this is a radical shift in how politics is done. Yet it's also messy because anyone can join, anyone can vote. There is no process here. By the way, Karki also has an Indian connection. She studied at the Banaras Hindu University in India's Varanasi. She has spoken warmly about India. She says that she is impressed by Indian leaders, including Prime Minister Modi, and that's a good sign for New Delhi. She took oath as the interim Prime Minister today. The parliament has been dissolved. A small cabinet is in place, but their names remain secret. So basically, Nepal is moving forward after the chaos we saw this week. The interim government will navigate the country through this change. It will be responsible for holding fresh elections. And all of this sounds pretty straightforward on paper. But remember, Sushila Karki is 73 years old. She has never led a government. And leading Nepal today means managing more than corruption. There's an uneasy calm on the streets. Shops are shuttered. Soldiers are present at checkpoints. The parliament is a blackened ruin. And the economy has lost billions. The protests have cost Nepal's hotel industry more than 25 billion Indian rupees. That's 300 million US dollars. The Hilton Hotel in Kathmandu lost over 8 billion Indian rupees. That's 96 million US dollars. Thousands of jobs are gone overnight. And beyond the numbers, there is fear. More than 12,000 prisoners escaped during the chaos. Families are staying locked inside their homes. So Karki will face a lot of challenges. Number one is restoring order. Nepal's army is currently on the streets. Curfews are in place. Trust in the police is at rock bottom. So the first order of business is to restore normalcy, to get things back to normal ASAP. 2, economic recovery. Tourism is a lifeline for Nepal's economy that is currently bleeding. Bookings are being cancelled. Tourists are avoiding the Himalayan nation. Foreign investors are rattled. There is a need to assure the world that things are peaceful again. 3. Youth expectations. Nepal's Gen Z does not want another placeholder. They want transformation, and they want it fast. Delivering on that will be crucial. And last, the political vacuum. Nepal's traditional parties are discredited. The parliament has been torched. Some ministers have fled the country. Can any interim prime minister actually govern without a functioning legislature? That's the big question. Nepal has seen 15 governments in 17 years. So Karki has her task cut out. How she navigates the situation will decide Nepal's future. Meanwhile, can Nepal's Gen Z hold their nerve as the rebuilding begins? Because revolutions are noisy and dramatic, but governing can be painfully slow and quiet. Now to Europe, where Poland is at the center of a new flashpoint. An alleged Russian drone incursion has brought the Ukraine conflict into NATO territory. And it has triggered a very different response on both sides of the Atlantic. Let's start with a quick recap. A few days ago, 19 Russian drones crossed into Poland. Some of them came from Belarus. Poland shot down at least 3 of them. Others fell deep into the country. Fragments were found as far as 250 kilometers from Poland's eastern border. A home was damaged, though no casualties were reported. Warsaw called it a deliberate attack from Moscow and an attempt to test NATO defenses. But in Washington, the view was completely different. President Donald Trump said it could have been a mistake.
What's your reaction to Russian drone incursion into Poland?
Could have been a mistake. Could have been a mistake, but regardless, I'm not happy about anything having to do with that whole situation. But hopefully it's going to come to an end.
That remark did not sit well in Poland. They flatly rejected it. Prime Minister Donald Tusk took to social media. He said even he hoped that the incident was a mistake, but it wasn't. Now, this contradiction has exposed a gap between Europe and the US, and it has raised new questions about NATO unity. You see, Poland is among the closest US allies in Europe. It has been praised by the Trump administration for devoting the largest share of its economy for defense. Poland has pledged 4.7% of GDP to defense this year. So for its leader to directly contradict Trump is unheard of. But this is an emerging sign, a sign of Europe's alarm at Donald Trump's willingness to give weight to Moscow's account. And what is Moscow's account? That they were targeting Ukraine, they never aimed at Poland, and there's no proof that the drones were Russian. That's what Moscow is saying. They've accused Poland of spreading myths. And yet in Poland, there is no doubt. Officials say that the drones were Russian-made. They've recovered parts as evidence, they say, and they call the incursion an unprecedented provocation.
And we reject all the manipulations and disinformation suggesting that Ukraine is behind this attack, that it was a Ukrainian provocation, or that it was a coincidence, an accident, the result of errors. No, our belief here is unequivocal. The Russian Federation is responsible for these events in Polish skies.
To give some context, for the first time since the war in Ukraine began, NATO jets actually fired back. Until this week, they hadn't done it. While NATO members have supported Ukraine throughout, they have avoided direct involvement in this war. But this time was different. This time, drones had reached NATO skies. Polish F-16s and Dutch F-35s responded. So this was a different situation altogether. The incursion also did something rare in Polish politics. It united bitter rivals. President Karol Nawrocki and Prime Minister Donald Tusk, they stood side by side and promised to act like one fist. Meanwhile, Poland also invoked Article 4 of the NATO treaty. It allows members to call for consultations. It has been invoked, or it had been invoked only 7 times before, 7 times in NATO's history. This was the 8th time. So now consultations are underway. Allies have promised to support Poland. France will deploy 3 Rafale jets to Poland. Germany will quote-unquote extend and expand its role in NATO air policing. Britain has announced new sanctions and Japan has lowered its price cap on Russian oil. So clearly, allies are trying to increase pressure on Moscow. But that's not all. Warsaw has taken the matter to the United Nations. The Security Council is due to meet today. They will discuss this incident. And look at the timing. Russia and Belarus are holding an exercise near Poland's border. It is called Zapad. Thousands of troops are taking part. Heavy military equipment, including armored vehicles, helicopters, and Navy ships are taking part in these drills. Russia says, among other things, they will practice aerial reconnaissance and missile strikes on ground targets. Needless to say, Poland is worried. It fears that Russia has deployed tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus. This has prompted Poland to shut its border with Belarus and restrict air traffic. Lithuania and Latvia have done the same thing. They've partially closed their airspace. So what began with drones in Poland now intersects with military drills, alleged nuclear deployments, and airspace closures. Warsaw calls it a test. Washington calls it possibly a mistake. And that difference leaves a bigger question on the table. Is NATO a divided force? Can it debate without diluting its response? We'll be tracking this one for you. The Prime Minister of Mauritius is in India on a 6-day visit. His name is Naveen Chandra Ramgulam. Today he was in Ayodhya, a holy city in northern India, home to the Ram Temple. The Mauritius Prime Minister offered his prayers at the temple. Yesterday he met Prime Minister Modi. India has committed $680 million in economic assistance to Mauritius. The funds will expand healthcare facilities, build new infra, and boost maritime security projects. Now, one of them involves the Chagos Islands. It's an archipelago that hosts a joint US-UK military base. India will now help Mauritius secure these islands, and this is an extremely significant part of our engagement with Mauritius. Beyond economics, beyond trade and culture, it is India's strategic competition with China. Our next report explains.
India is deepening ties with Mauritius. Prime Minister Modi just hosted the Mauritian Prime Minister in Varanasi. Naveen Chandra Ramgulam is on his first overseas trip since he returned to office in 2024. Major announcements have been made as well. The two leaders announced new projects worth $680 million. Why does Mauritius matter so much to India? The answer lies in location, security, economics, and history. Mauritius sits in the Western Indian Ocean. It lies close to key shipping lanes. Much of India's trade passes through these waters, so developing a footprint within the region is a necessity. Over the past decade, India made significant strides on this front. India has funded projects on the Agalega Island in Mauritius. This includes a new airstrip and a jetty. These facilities improve defense. They enable patrols and faster response. In 2024, when a powerful cyclone hit Mauritius, the facilities in Agalega were instrumental in delivering aid. There is the China factor to consider as well. Beijing is rapidly expanding its presence in the Indian Ocean. It has invested in ports and infrastructure. It has boosted naval patrols and submarine activity. And it has made moves to make inroads in Mauritius too. With its outreach to Port Louis, New Delhi hopes to counter the Chinese. It's a strategic necessity to keep the sea routes secure and remain a partner of first choice. India's backing to Mauritius to secure the Chagos archipelago. It is an extension of those efforts. It is home to a US-British air base on Diego Garcia. Diego Garcia is the largest island on Chagos. In May 2025, the UK signed a treaty. It recognized Mauritian sovereignty over Chagos. But Diego Garcia remains under British and American control. Mauritius says it lacks resources for surveillance. This is where India has offered support. It will provide equipment, personnel and support. Mauritius is also an important economic gateway for India. It serves as India's bridge to Africa. That's why India has made significant investment commitments there. This includes a plan for a new parliament building. During this visit as well, India has committed to fund a new national hospital, port equipment, a motorway, and a new air traffic control tower. Cultural connections make this relationship unique as well. Nearly 70% of Mauritius people have Indian roots. Many came during the British rule, between 1834 and the early 1900s. They were brought as artisans and indentured workers. Many stayed and built families. That cultural connection is still alive. Mauritius celebrates many Indian festivals. Mauritius marks its National Day on 12th of March. That's the very same day Gandhi began the Dandi March back in 1930. Mauritius is much more than just an ally for India. It is a partner in security, a partner in trade, a partner in culture. Together, both countries are shaping the future of the Indian Ocean and balancing the power struggle in the region.
Staying with India, Prime Minister Modi is embarking on a crucial trip tomorrow. It's not to a foreign country, it's not for a global summit, but it's arguably more significant. Prime Minister Modi is all set to visit Manipur on Saturday. Manipur is one of India's 8 northeastern states. Back in 2023, it plunged into chaos. An ethnic conflict broke out in the state. It pitted 2 groups against each other, the majority Meiteis and the minority Kukis. At least 260 people have been killed so far, plus around 70,000 remain displaced. Yes, the violence is dying down, but Manipur is still awaiting complete normalcy. Which brings us to the Prime Minister's trip. It's his first visit to Manipur since the clashes broke out. The question is why now and what's on the agenda? Let's look at the security situation first. The last major incident of violence was reported in November last year. Since then, things have stabilized, but this is enforced stability. The Kukis have been restricted to the hills of Manipur, the Meiteis to the valley. And in between them is a security buffer zone. Neither side is being allowed to move around a lot. Thousands of security personnel are keeping them apart. We can't call this normalcy, which is probably why Prime Minister Modi is visiting. A long-term solution requires talks between the 2 groups. Maybe a prime ministerial trip can achieve that. The state administration is hopeful. They say Prime Minister Modi's trip will pave the way for normalcy.
Peace is not only the absence of violence, but also the presence of trust, harmony and reconciliation. Thus, the visit of Honorable Prime Minister to the state will pave way for peace, normalcy and accelerated growth in the state.
Which brings us to the second question. What's on the agenda? The Prime Minister has 2 stops in Manipur. The first is at Churachandpur. A grand stage is being built in this town. It was the site of some violent clashes in the last 2 years. Here, Prime Minister Modi will interact with some of the displaced people. He will announce new development projects and significant ones too. These are projects worth around 7,300 crore rupees, which is around 826 million US dollars. After that, the Prime Minister will head to the capital Imphal, specifically the Kangla Fort. This is an ancient royal site in Manipur. It is the cultural heart of the Meitei community. Here too, Prime Minister Modi will meet displaced people. He will also announce projects worth 1,200 crore rupees. So it's a big package for Manipur, almost 8,500 crores in total, which is around $962 million. Now you can see what the Prime Minister is trying to do. He is reaching out to both sides. Churachandpur is dominated by the Kukis and Imphal by the Meiteis. By visiting both places, he is assuring both sides he is building trust for a peace process. And he is not going empty-handed. He is announcing multi-million-dollar projects. This is part of Prime Minister Modi's strategy. We saw that in Kashmir as well. Yes, there is a political process for peace, but in parallel, there is an economic push as well. There are promises of investments and infrastructure upgrades. The idea is to use prosperity to achieve peace. But will it work in Manipur? The Kuki Council has welcomed Prime Minister Modi's trip. They're calling it rare and historic. The last time an Indian Prime Minister visited their stronghold was way back in 1988. So this visit was long overdue. But in the valley, there is skepticism. 6 insurgent groups have released a statement. They will be boycotting tomorrow's visit. For Prime Minister Modi, this trip is high stakes. He can use his words to heal Manipur's divisions. He can also use the weight of his office to break the deadlock, to bring the warring sides to the table. He can do so by offering trust that was missing after the violence of 2023. The Kuki groups lost trust in Chief Minister Biren Singh. By the end of 2024, even Meiteis were fed up. His own Meitei lawmakers wanted him to resign. He did so in February this year, and since then, Manipur has been under President's rule. Like I said, this is not normalcy. For normalcy, you need to have meaningful dialogue. You need assurances from people you trust. Manipur is hoping that Prime Minister Modi will be that person. Let's see how the trip unfolds. Our next story takes us to the United States, a country on edge after yet another incident of gun violence. 2 days ago, there was a shooting. The target was President Donald Trump's ally, Charlie Kirk. He was shot dead in Utah. In broad daylight, he was taking questions from students on a college campus in front of at least 3,000 people.
Over the last 10 years.
The suspect escaped into nearby streets. And for 48 hours, America watched a manhunt unfold. Hundreds of agents were on the trail. They came from 20 different law enforcement agencies. The FBI and Utah police released images of a person of interest. The grainy picture showed a man in dark clothes, Converse shoes, a baseball cap, and a shirt with an eagle and an American flag. The FBI also released surveillance footage. It showed a person running on the roof of a building, jumping off the roof, and then continuing to run. Meanwhile, the weapon has also apparently been recovered. A Mauser rifle left in the woods. Now, this is evidence that suggests planning and precision. The investigation quickly became a national story because Charlie Kirk was not just another conservative activist, he was a prominent voice on the American right. He was close to US President Donald Trump and a polarizing figure on guns, immigration, and abortion. And today, Trump says the suspect is in custody. He made the announcement in a live interview earlier today. Listen in.
I think with a high degree of certainty, we have him in custody. Right? In custody. Everyone did a great job. We worked with the local police, the governor. Everybody did a great job.
Trump said the suspect was identified by someone close, and he claimed that a minister handed him to law enforcement. Then officials held a press conference. They said the suspect was a man called Tyler Robinson. He is 22 years old.
Good morning, ladies.
Authorities said that he confessed to a family friend, and that friend alerted law enforcement. What began as a rumor was turned into a lead, and that lead brought the manhunt to an end. Utah's governor added more detail. He said Robinson had become political in recent months. He spoke disparagingly about Charlie Kirk, and he was taken into custody on Wednesday night.
On the evening of September 11th, a family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident. This information was relayed to the Utah County Sheriff's Office and scene investigators at Utah Valley University. This information was also conveyed to the FBI.
But this story does not end with the arrest. The aftershock of the incident has been political. The White House has moved quickly to turn the tragedy into a national moment. Kirk's coffin was flown to Phoenix on Air Force 2. That's the US Vice President's plane, and Vice President J.D. Vance escorted the casket himself. President Trump has promised to posthumously award him the Presidential Medal of Freedom. The administration has also issued a warning. The State Department says foreigners who praise the shooting online could lose their visas. It has asked users to flag posts and promised action against individuals. But none of this will address the wider crisis that America finds itself in. Last year, Donald Trump survived an assassination attempt. 3 months ago, a Democratic lawmaker and her husband were killed in Minnesota. So political violence has cut across both parties, and the common factor is guns. Let's recap the numbers that we shared with you yesterday. As of July 2025, guns had claimed nearly 19,000 lives in the US. More than 2,200 mass shootings have been recorded this year, and the locations are very familiar. Classrooms and churches, crowded streets and shopping malls, big cities and rural towns. The violence is everywhere. No part of the country is spared. For now, the suspect is in custody, but America is left with deeper uncertainties. Why this man? Why this target? And why this endless violence? The United States has normalized gun violence. It has even grown used to attacks on politicians. The bullet that killed Charlie Kirk was not an isolated act. It was part of a relentless, dangerous pattern. A pattern of guns, politics, and hatred. America may have caught this suspect. They may even execute him, but they've not answered the real question. Who will stop the next shooter?
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Decision of the NDA to choose him as the next Vice President of India is being seen as a message to Tamil Nadu as well. Payal Mehta is with me on the phone line. Payal, CP Radhakrishnan's oath ceremony will begin shortly. We can already see visuals coming in from Rashtrapati Bhavan. And soon after, I'm told, these are live visuals that we are getting, Payal, and soon after the oath, we are told, okay, Payal, interestingly, I can see Jagdeep Dhankar sitting there in the audience, first public appearance. Let's just weigh in on that first.
Well, to begin with, it is a constitutional post that CP Radhakrishnan will continue to have because his immediate task before this was the governor of Maharashtra. And that is something which is coming to the fore as well. But, you know, a lot of political niceties being shown over. Jagdeep Dhankar has suddenly cited health reasons at the beginning of the monsoon session of Parliament on 21st of July and stepped down immediately within a few hours of him, you know, making that official letter public. But, you know, it is a big occasion as far as the NDA is really concerned. CP Radhakrishnan is somebody who comes in from the influential OBC community in Tamil Nadu. He is somebody that the BJP has been waiting to see take one responsibility after the other. He's been somebody who's been Prime Minister Narendra Modi's friend. In fact, while recalling his friendship with CP Radhakrishnan, the Prime Minister said that they were friends when both of them had black hair. And, you know, the Prime Minister made a very interesting observation while he was speaking about CP Radhakrishnan in one of the BJP meetings, saying that he is very, very fond of sports. He's greatly into sports, but Rajniti mein khel nahi karte hain. So that's something which is coming there, and this is probably the first time that Jagdeep Dhankar, ever since him having stepped down, has been seen, you know, in public as well. So, you know, political niceties are going to be there. You can see a lot of BJP, NDA chief ministers that are part of this gathering. There are, of course, opposition leaders. You can see Derek O'Brien on your screen. You can see G.K. Vasan. I can see Pushkar Singh Dhami, Ashok Gajapati Raju. All the governors have also been asked to come to the national capital. White smiles on the face of Devendra Fadnavis, who has been extremely instrumental, not just in making sure that, you know, CP Radhakrishnan got a nice send-off when he left from Mumbai, but also made sure that, you know, cross-voting happened from the state of Maharashtra, from all the parties involved over there as well. So that is something which is going to be a big occasion. Like I said, that all the people are there who need to be there. All people have been invited. We'll have to just wait and see if we do spot Rahul Gandhi or Mallikarjun Kharge there.
Okay, but I can see all the former vice presidents are also sitting in attendance.
Donald Trump is on a sporting pilgrimage. He's ticking off events one by one. Last weekend, it was the US Open tennis final. Yesterday, it was a baseball game in New York, and later this month, it's the Ryder Cup. Trump has always depicted himself as a great sport lover, but the fans don't seem to like him, partly because he causes a lot of security checks and delays, and partly because he is Donald Trump. His arrival is often met with boos and jeers in the crowd. But as always, Trump is spinning it.
Usually you would say that would be a somewhat progressive, as they say nowadays, crowd. Sometimes some people would call it liberal, but we'll use the word they like to use, progressive. But they were great. The fans were great.
And now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. Russia and Belarus begin their joint military drills. A giant drawing of Trump and Netanyahu on a Tel Aviv beach draws attention to the plight of Gaza hostages. And humanoid robots take on real-life jobs at a Shanghai conference. We're taking you back in history. On this day in 1959, the Soviet Union launched the Luna 2 spacecraft. It became the first vehicle to reach the moon's surface and the first to touch another celestial body. However, Luna 2 did not have a smooth landing. In fact, it simply crashed into the moon's surface. We're leaving you on that note. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend.
Hello and welcome to the late night edition with me, Ayushman Singh Jamwal. Our top story: after days of violence in Nepal, which led to the ouster of the KP Sharma Oli regime, the reins are now in the hands of the former Chief Justice of Nepal, Sushila Karki. A favorite of the faction of the Gen Z movement, Karki has a strong record of being an anti-corruption crusader and now has the support of the president. Now, after talks between Karki, the president and the Gen Z movement leaders, the former Chief Justice has now taken the oath of office as Nepal's interim Prime Minister. She will be the first woman to hold that office. The human cost of this entire political shift has been high, ladies and gentlemen. Over 50 lives have been lost so far, while there is a persistent power struggle between different stakeholders inside Nepal. Moreover, re-establishment of law and order across Nepal and around the borders is the first agenda that needs to be tackled before the crucial reforms to revamp governance and social welfare. Question remains, are the conditions right for a transition back to a robust democracy? Those are the visuals on your screen as Sushila Karki has taken the oath of office as the first
Prime Minister, female Prime Minister of Nepal, taking the reins given the political shift after the fall of the KP Sharma Oli regime. So let's take you through who is Sushila Karki. She was the consensus candidate, the initial consensus candidate of the Gen Z movement leaders. After that, there was some tussle within the Gen Z movement, among the Gen Z movement leaders, to choose who is fit to lead the nation of Nepal. But after the support of the president, she has now taken the oath as the Prime Minister, the interim leader of Nepal. She served as Nepal's 25th Chief Justice from 2016 to 2017, being the first woman to hold the post of Chief Justice of Nepal. If you look at more details that are coming in when it comes to Sushila Karki, she's the first, as I was pointing out, the first female Chief Justice of the Nepal Supreme Court, someone who has a reputation of having zero tolerance against corruption, one of the key anti-corruption crusaders when it comes to Nepal civil society. In 2017, because of her record of being an anti-corruption crusader, she faced an impeachment from the Maoist Center as well as the Nepali Congress, who she had targeted for corruption practices. But that 2017 impeachment motion was withdrawn after public pressure. So she's a very popular figure inside Nepal. She was one of the key picks of the Gen Z movement leaders, and now she has taken oath as the interim Prime Minister of Nepal, being a very solid figure when it comes to leading Nepal through this entire transition away from the KP Sharma Oli government. Now let's talk about what could be her possible cabinet. These are what reports suggest, that Om Prakash Aryal could likely become Nepal's next law minister, is what we are learning from reports. Now, Aryal currently serves as advisor to Balan Shah, one of the other frontrunners who could have taken the reins as Nepal's interim leader, but he is someone who has withdrawn from the entire race. Balan Shah said that there should be some level of stability at the center. Also, some factions also supporting Sushila Karki as the next Prime Minister, as the Prime Minister of Nepal, now that she's taken the oath of office. So it seems that Sushila Karki has been able to coalesce and gather all the support inside Nepal when it comes to holding on to the reins of power and transitioning Nepal away from the Oli regime to her entire realm of holding governance in Nepal when it comes to taking control of the issues surrounding Nepal, primarily law and order as well as key reforms. So beyond Mr. Aryal, who was the key advisor to Balan Shah, Kulman Gising, former executive director of the Nepal Power Board, he could also be part of Sushila Karki's entire cabinet. Also, Sudhan Gurung, a key Gen Z movement leader. These could be the potential cabinet members when it comes to the new regime in place under Sushila Karki. I'm joined by my colleague Siddhant Mishra on the broadcast to get more details when it comes to this crucial transition that has happened inside Nepal. So Siddhant, at the end of the day, there was so much suspense surrounding who will lead Nepal, who will be the interim leader. But finally, that suspense has ended. Sushila Karki taking the oath of office, those visuals on our screen. But it's a tough road ahead of her to create some level of consensus on the ground, given that so many stakeholders have also thrown their hats in the ring. There is still power struggles between the different factions inside Nepal. But Sushila Karki has vowed order and justice as her agenda at the helm.
Well, that's right, Ayushman. In fact, it's going to be a very challenging job for her because you know, the economy is already in doldrums. There has been a massive loss to the exchequer because of the buildings vandalized, ransacked, set ablaze. Now, it would be a task for her to rebuild Kathmandu, to rebuild Nepal. Not just Kathmandu, Ayushman. In fact, the government offices in various districts in Nepal were also set ablaze. The buildings, public property has been damaged. So, you know, to bring the country on track, you know, perhaps it's going to be a very, very challenging job for her, and she has accepted the challenge. Now, today, she has only taken the oath, but we have been told, as you were also pointing out, that there's going to be 3 to 4 more ministers joining her cabinet soon. Including somebody close to Kulman, to Balan Shah. Kulman Gising could also be the part of her cabinet. So there's going to be a very, you know, very, you know, she's going to pick the people in her cabinet very wisely because, you know, with great power comes great responsibility, and this power has come after massive protests in Kathmandu, which had resulted in the 19 lives lost when the young protesters died in the police firing. After which there was a massive protest. The Prime Minister was the government fell. So all those things happened. So it has paid a huge cost. Country has paid a huge cost for this interim government to be formed. So also Ayushman, the existing issues in Nepal like corruption, cost of living, unemployment, etc. What roadmap does she have for all those issues? Perhaps will also be interested. Will also be interesting to see. And the very last point, commitment to get the election done in the country, because that was perhaps something which she in fact mentioned in her conversation with Anand Narasimhan. And in fact, here also, while giving soundbite, she said that there needs to be an early election in Nepal. So, to bring the country back on track, to rebuild the country, the properties damaged, to meet the expectations of the Gen Z protesters, and at the same time, to make sure that the country gets back on track and elections are announced. So, these four are going to be the key focus area for her cabinet. And also remember one thing, Ayushman, that Nepalese politicians have not run away from the country. They are very much in the country. They may have lost their credibility, popularity, but they are very much in the country, and they may play their dirty games in future as well. So she needs to be prepared for that as well. So it's a challenging job. It's a tough task, but she had already proven her credentials, her efficiency as the Chief Justice of Nepal. At that point in time, also there was an attempt to impeach her, and she survived because of her popularity and the public support. And this time around, also, the mark is with her. There is immense support that she has, and perhaps people are hopeful that she will bring the country back on track, and perhaps will end corruption, nepotism, and those issues which Gen Z wants to be finished.
Right. Siddhant, please stay with us. I want to take our viewers through those key contenders, because it seems that Sushila Karki will have to stitch together a coalition of leaders when it comes to the different stakeholders that have emerged in the wake of the ouster of the KP Oli regime. Om Prakash Arya, likely to become Nepal's next law minister, is what we are learning. He's currently serving as the advisor to Balan Shah, as Siddhant was pointing out, one of the key influential figures inside Nepalese politics after the ouster of KP Sharma Oli, involved in the talks between the army chief as well as the president. So he was one of the key power brokers when it came to transitioning away from the KP Sharma Oli government. Then Kulman Gising, his name was also doing the rounds, former executive director of the Nepal Power Board, someone credited with ending the long era of load shedding across Nepal, and also Sudhan Gurung, key Gen Z movement leader. So these are the three key figures who are emerging after the oath of office that was taken by Sushila Karki and Siddhant. So clearly it seems that she has to create this coalition of the different stakeholders. So even after taking the oath of office, as you were pointing out, the work is not yet done. She will have to hold multiple consultations with different stakeholders on the ground in order to come to some level of consensus when it comes to a coalition of different stakeholders to ensure that the governance agenda in the weeks and months to come, that remains smooth.
Absolutely, Ayushman. In fact, Ayushman, when Mohammad Yunus also was made the chief advisor of Bangladesh, at that point in time also, see, all these stakeholders were backing him, okay, whether it's political parties, army, protesters, and, the civil society, etc., etc. Now, that is the same, that is the case with Sushila Karki. At this point in time, from Balan Shah to the political party, protesters, army, president, all the stakeholders are backing her. So she also has to make sure that this support remains with her. As I said before, Ayushman, the politicians of Nepal are very much present in Nepal. They have not flown to any third country. They are very much present, and they very much look forward to to be back into the active politics. May not be only Devas or Chandas, but there are a lot of people very well connected with them. They are very much active in the Nepal politics. So they will definitely try to de-stabilize and create the situation for her, which